Thank you, judges, for coming in. We did not start the stream yet, so we're going to start the YouTube live stream. I'm going to do a quick introduction, and then we'll turn it over to the bailiff.
All right, we're live.
Thank you. All right. Hi, everyone. I hope that you're having a great morning. We thank you for joining us on YouTube if you are logged in for our championship round for the Kentucky High School Mock Trial Tournament. So Mock Trial is an organization where students get to work with real attorneys and their teachers and work in a closed world packet to develop a case theory and directs and crosses and openings and closings over about a 5-month period. So with that, they also look at the federal rules of evidence and learn real rules of evidence and learn how to argue those in a court setting. Today, that's what you're going to see on the in our virtual setting. We have an actual presiding judge joining us today, and we have, I think, about 10 jurors. So what we're going to do is in a minute, I'm going to turn it over to the bailiff, and we'll get the round started. We have team 14 today as our plaintiff side and team 18 as our defense side. So I hope you guys enjoy watching, and to the students, congratulations on making it to the final round and good luck. All right, with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to our bailiff, Will. Good luck, guys.
The General Court of Justice, Superior Court Division of the County of Caldwell, State of Midlands is now in session. The Honorable Lisa P. Jones presiding. Judge, you're on mute.
So sorry about that. We're here today in trial for case number 21 CVS 9876, Mia Donovan versus Shannon Dempsey, Jordan Reddick, and the Rubicon Soccer Club, Inc. I'm Judge Lisa Jones, and members of the jury, I guess just make sure that you've looked to the 2 lower buttons on the left side of your screen. Remember to keep your audio and video off unless the tournament coordinator tells you otherwise. You should also have your video set to hide all non-video participants so that the only people on the screen should be the participating students and me. And at this time, counsel, are there any matters that we need to take up before opening statements?
Yes, Your Honor. May we make appearances?
Yes, sir.
My name is Everett Parker Noblet. I will be directing Tobin O'Reilly, cross-examining Shannon Dempsey, and performing the plaintiff closing statement, along with my co-counsel, Hannah Richards.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Hannah Richards, and today I'll be delivering the opening statement, along with the direct examination of Casey Donovan and the cross-examination of Jordan Reddick.
And along with my co-counsel, Lucy Tolliver.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Lucy Tolliver, and I'll be performing the direct examination of Dr. Bailey Register and the cross-examination of Chris Durant.
And collectively, we represent the plaintiff in today's case, Ms. Mia Donovan. Now, our witnesses in the order they will be called.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Ashini Shah, and I will be portraying Casey Donovan.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Milan Shah, and today I'll be portraying Tobin O'Reilly.
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm Katie Tolliver, and I'll be portraying Dr. Bailey Register.
Now, Your Honor, would you like us to move on to pretrial matters or have opposing counsel make appearances before?
If opposing counsel can also provide introductions, and then we'll go to pretrial matters.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Maddie Brother, and today I'll be handling the pretrial matters. Alongside me are my co-counsel.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Shayna Garrett, and I will be conducting the opening statement in today's case.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Addie Holly, and I will be giving the closing argument in today's case.
And our 3 witnesses in the order they will appear today.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Bryce Charles, and today I'll be portraying Chris Durant.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Caleb Kanoy, and today I will be portraying Shannon Dempsey.
And good morning, Your Honor. My name is Alex Williams, and I will be portraying Jordan Reddick.
And together, Your Honor, we represent the defendant, the Rubicon Soccer Club.
Thank you all so much. And now, the attorneys, are there any pretrial matters that need to be addressed?
Yes, Your Honor. First, since this is the first time we've appeared before you in court, I would ask what your preferences are for objections after they're sustained. Would you like us to move to strike, or should it be presumed to be stricken?
Please ask to be stricken.
Yes, Your Honor. And would you like us to formally tender expert witnesses or simply lay the foundation for them?
Lay the foundation, but then indicate that you are asking to have them admitted as an expert witness, and that alerts the jurors to that as well.
Yes, Your Honor. And finally, we would like to remind the court of mock trial rule 4.9, which says that no witnesses in today's case will be sequestered.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And with that, Your Honor, the plaintiff's ready to proceed.
Thank you. Are there any preliminary matters that the defense needs to address?
Your Honor, the defense only has one pretrial matter since today's trial is conducted on Zoom. If you feel that any questions or testimonies have been affected, feel free to ask us to stop or repeat or anything to help you out.
Yes, thank you so much.
And with that, Your Honor, the defense is ready to proceed.
Thank you. So at this point in time, we will hear opening statements from the parties. Everyone should make sure that they are in speaker view. And again, for jurors or people who aren't aware, that button's in the upper right of your Zoom screen. And counsel, please remember to mute your audio when opposing counsel is speaking. And if plaintiff is prepared to give their opening, they may do so.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes, you may.
Your Honor, opposing counsel, members of the jury, may it please the court. One form, one phone call, or one substitution. Casey Donovan's daughter, Mia, cannot get up. Just seconds before, she was running across the soccer pitch, but now she lay unconscious and still. Casey runs onto the field to be by her daughter's side, to hold her hand, and to ride with her in the ambulance as they race to the hospital. The doctors perform their tests, and Mia is diagnosed with a severe concussion. However, this diagnosis is not consistent with the injury Ms. Donovan witnessed her daughter sustain. The true cause of this injury would soon be revealed. Mia had suffered a head injury at soccer practice with the Rubicon Sports Club approximately 3 days before. However, no member of the Rubicon Sports Club, including Mia's soccer coach, Shannon Dempsey, informed Casey Donovan that her daughter had sustained a head injury. If Ms. Donovan had been made aware that her daughter had just sustained a head injury, she would have never allowed Mia to be on the soccer pitch that night. One form, one phone call, or one substitution. If the Rubicon Sports Club had handled just one of these things properly, we would not be in court today. As the plaintiff in today's case, we have filed a charge against the Rubicon Sports Club that they are liable for negligence. To prove this case, we must first prove that the Rubicon Sports Club owed a duty of care to Mia Donovan, that they breached that duty, and that breaching that duty of care was both the direct and proximate cause of Mia's injuries. Finally, we must prove this by a preponderance of the evidence, meaning simply 50% plus a feather. By the weight of the evidence presented today, we will meet that burden. Casey Donovan will explain to you today that her daughter had suffered a concussion approximately 6 months before. Ms. Donovan knew that this left her daughter more susceptible to future head injuries. So she made sure to note her daughter's concussion history on the one form the Rubicon Sports Club requested parents fill out upon registering children for their teams. The one form that the Rubicon Sports Club would file away and neglect to review. You will hear from Dr. Bailey Register, a neurologist who specializes in the treatment of concussions. Dr. Register will explain to you today that neglecting to review that one form was a critical and life-changing mistake. Dr. Register will explain that if the Rubicon Sports Club had been aware of Mia's concussion history and had taken the appropriate plan of care, the first thing they should have done would have been to have made one phone call. Members of the jury, that is all it would have took. One phone call home to Mia's mother, Casey Donovan, informing her that her daughter had just sustained a head injury and needed to seek immediate medical assistance. Dr. Register will explain that that one phone call was necessary because Mia, a minor suffering from a head injury, could not understand the severity nor the complexity of her injury on her own. She needed the adults around her to help. One substitution. Mia should have never been on the soccer pitch that night. You will hear from Tobin O'Reilly, soccer coach for Rome High School. Coach O'Reilly will explain to you today the soccer coaches have been aware of the severity of concussions in their sport for years now. Coach O'Reilly will explain to you the multitude of free resources that work to inform coaches on concussions and that they need to immediately remove that player from the game until they are cleared by a physician. Indeed, Coach O'Reilly made such a substitution last year in the state championship when Mia sustained her first head injury. While that one substitution by Coach O'Reilly may have cost Rome High School the state championship, Coach O'Reilly knew it was the only right thing to do. If the Rubicon Sports Club had made one such substitution, they could have prevented Mia Donovan from a lifetime of suffering. One form, one phone call, or one substitution. If the Rubicon Sports Club could have handled just one of these things properly, we would not be in court today. That is why, at the end of today's trial, my co-counsel, Everett Parker Noblet, will come before you and ask that you find the Rubicon Sports Club liable for negligence. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the defense prepared to give their opening?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
May it please the court, opposing counsel, and to the members of the jury, thank you for taking the time to serve on this trial over Zoom. As we've all learned with the COVID-19 pandemic, we find ourselves in situations where we have to adapt as new information comes out and science tells us better ways of dealing with a problem. I think we could all agree that the mark of success is doing the best that you can with the information that you have at the time. And that is what happened here today. But instead of a virus, we're dealing with concussions. You see, the Rubicon Soccer Club did the best that they could with the information that they had at the time. You will learn that the plaintiff, Mia Donovan, purposefully hid a concussion from the defendants. And because of that, the Rubicon Soccer Club did not have all of the information that they needed to keep Mia safe. And we ask you to not punish them for that. Our defense today is simple. Mia lied to her coaches, to her mother, to her teachers. You will learn that Mia had a history with concussions, so she knew what it felt like to have one. On Monday, she had a head injury. On Tuesday, she woke up and she knew that she had a concussion. Through Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, she continued to keep this concussion a secret and lie to her mother and her coach. And unfortunately, on Friday, she was terribly injured. Now, why would Mia keep such a big secret? Because on Friday, Mia was playing in an exhibition game where college coaches were coming to watch her play. She was desperate for a scholarship, but worried that her mother and coach would not let her play. So she lied to them. She said that it was stress from a busy school schedule. We will call 3 witnesses today who will describe to you why Mia's decision to keep this concussion a secret is in fact the reason that we're here today. And it starts with Mia's best friend. Yes, Mia's best friend will take the stand today for the defendants. Chris Durant was the only person who knew that Mia was hiding a concussion. She pulled him aside at school and told him, but made him promise to keep it a secret so she could play in the game. Chris kept that promise, and he is here today to tell you how sorry he is, that he now understands Mia's decision to keep that concussion a secret was a catastrophic decision. Next, you will hear from Mia's soccer coach at the Rubicon Soccer Club, Coach Shannon Dempsey. Coach Dempsey will describe to you all the ways that Mia hid her concussion symptoms from him and even denied to his face that anything was wrong. And lastly, you will hear from the director at the Rubicon Soccer Club, Jordan Reddick. Jordan Reddick runs a very organized and safe organization with over 2,000 soccer players, and they have a very low rate of injury. The precautions were there for Mia. All she had to do was speak up. The plaintiff has the burden of proof today. What this means is they have to prove to you that it is more likely than not that the Rubicon Soccer Club is responsible for Mia's injuries. They will not be able to prove that today because of this secret that Mia kept. Because contrary to the plaintiff's belief, Mia would have been safe by saying one thing: help. One of the first things you'll notice about the plaintiff's case is that none of their witnesses will deny that Mia lied and hid a concussion. And if they're being honest, they will also admit it was a mistake for Mia to keep this concussion a secret. What this means is, if you think about it, at the end of today's trial, you will enjoy a benefit that the Rubicon Soccer Club never had. You will have been told all of the facts that you need to know. Your decision will be an easy one. Because we judge people's decisions based on the information that they had at the time, you will have no choice but to find that the Rubicon Soccer Club is not responsible for Mia Donovan's mistakes. Thank you.
Thank you. Before plaintiff calls its first witness, if everyone could switch to gallery view. And again, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, that button's on the upper right of your Zoom screen. This will allow you to see the witness and the attorney at the same time. And is plaintiff prepared to call the first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff calls Casey Donovan to the stand.
And if you would raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will adhere to the rules of this mock trial competition?
I swear.
You may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
My name is Casey Donovan. I am a single mother of my wonderful daughter, Mia.
Tell us about Mia.
Mia's the light of my life. She's smart, funny, talented, and she loved soccer. She was good at it. She was really good. It was the highlight of my life, just getting to watch her play.
Miss Donovan, you said that your daughter was good. What happened?
On December 6, 2019, Mia was playing for the Rubicon tournament, and she suffered a concussion. She hasn't been able to play soccer since. She can't go to school, and she can't even go outside. The sun's too much for her. I wish we would have never gotten involved with Rubicon.
Let's back up for a few moments, Miss Donovan. How did your daughter become involved with the Rubicon Soccer Club?
Well, like all the girls, Mia had to try out and then was selected based upon her performance. We then had to pay the club fees. They were really expensive, but I guess it was worth working the extra shifts just so Mia could do something she loved. But then came the team enrollment process, which was haphazard. I should have known, based off of that they would have never taken care of Mia.
What do you mean the team enrollment process was haphazard?
Well, these aren't small little rec teams. They're high-level competitive teams. Only athletes in the top condition can compete. And the only medical information they required was the small one-page form. And it really only seemed to be asking when the girl's last tetanus shot was. It seemed that as long as you had paid the club fees, they were satisfied.
Objection, Your Honor, to speculation. This witness is speculating as to the beliefs of the Rubicon Soccer Club, whether or not they would be satisfied with a certain thing, and that is pure speculation.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
My witness has not exited her rationally based perception in this testimony. She's simply stating based off of her observations and her interactions with the Rubicon Soccer Club that this may have been how they would have reacted.
Your Honor, if I may. This witness cannot testify as to whether or not someone would have felt a certain way because of something else. That is pure speculation.
Final response from the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor. Again, my witness is simply using her rationally based perception. She had submitted this one registration form. Rubicon Sports Club did not request any more information from Ms. Donovan, and based off of that, her rationally based perception, she has drawn this conclusion.
I will go on and I'll allow the testimony at this time. So objection is overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Ms. Donovan, would you like to continue?
Yeah, as I was saying, the one form that they had me fill out really just asked about the girl's last tetanus shot. It seemed that they just wanted the fees.
Did you have any concerns about your daughter's ability to play soccer with the Rubicon Sports Club?
No, not really. Mia had suffered a concussion a few months prior, but we had followed all of the doctor's protocols. And I did note it on that small one form of theirs, even though they never asked for the player's concussion history.
Objection, Your Honor, to facts not in evidence. This witness is referring to a document that has not yet been entered into evidence.
Response?
Yes, Your Honor. We have not gone into any exact specifics of this document. If opposing counsel would like us to enter this document, we can do so.
Any response?
Your Honor, this witness specifically said what she put on the form, so therefore she is going into the specifics of the document, and that document has not yet been entered into evidence.
I think a document can be testified to without having been put into evidence, but it's up to the plaintiffs if they wish to enter it, and if they do not and you believe it's relevant, then you may introduce it on cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Would you like to continue, Ms. Donovan?
Yeah, as I was saying, is I wrote down that she had suffered concussion, even though they never asked for any concussion history.
Why did you list your daughter's concussion history on the registration form if the Rubicon Sports Club did not request such information?
Well, the doctors told me that she would be more susceptible for concussions in future play. And it's important that coaches are aware of their players' concussion history so they can keep their players safe.
Was your daughter safe while playing soccer with the Rubicon Sports Club?
No, she was not. On December 6, 2019, Mia was playing in the tournament game. I could tell something was off immediately, and I don't even play soccer. Early in the game, she took a hit to her head, and the co-captain came to check on her. But Coach Dempsey, he just stayed on the sidelines and watched her suffer. By the second half, things were clearly getting worse. That's when it happened.
Miss Donovan, would you like to take a break?
I'm sorry. I promised me I'd stay strong. I'm so sorry. We can continue.
Miss Donovan, what happened?
A defender out of nowhere came and tackled Mia to the ground. At first I wasn't worried. Mia's taken that hit multiple times before. But this time was different. She wasn't getting up, and that's when I ran out onto the field.
What happened once you were on the field with your unconscious daughter?
Mia, she was just lying there, so small. Her eyes were closed. She wasn't moving. And that's when I turned to Coach Dempsey for answers. And he just said, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I knew Mia wasn't feeling well. I can't believe she got hurt." To this day, I don't understand why no one ever told me about her fall earlier in the week. It would have just taken one phone call. Just one.
What fall had occurred earlier in the week?
While the doctors were treating Mia, we found out she had fallen earlier in the week during one of Coach Dempsey's practices, and I was never once made aware. I don't understand.
Miss Donovan, what don't you understand?
Why? Why didn't Coach Dempsey just call me? My daughter suffered a traumatic brain injury. She needed help. She needed those around her to care about her and to care about something other than winning. Just one phone call, and I would have had Mia at the doctor's within minutes. Mia should have never been playing that night.
Thank you, Ms. Donovan. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may, yes.
Ms. Donovan, I know it's hard to talk about what happened to Mia, but I have some questions for you.
Okay.
I want to first be clear on the timeline. Mia's head injury in the college showcase match happened on Friday, right?
It did.
And her first head injury earlier that week was in practice on Monday, correct?
Apparently so. I was never once made aware by the coach about it, though.
And just so we're clear, Ms. Donovan, from Monday night to Friday, Mia never told you that she had a concussion, did she?
No, but I believe it's the coach's responsibility to let a parent know when a player has been injured.
But that's a no. Mia never told you that she had a concussion.
No, but I expected the coach to.
You're Mia's mother. You would agree with me that Mia should have told you that she was suffering from concussion symptoms, shouldn't she?
Well, my daughter suffered a traumatic brain injury. She needed help. I wouldn't expect her to do it all on her own. She needed a coach to be there for her.
But Ms. Donovan, if your daughter knew that she was suffering from concussion symptoms, you would agree with me that she should have told you that.
I guess so, but I also believe it's the coach's responsibility.
You and Mia live in the same house, right?
We do.
And after seeing her several days that week, you never suspected that she might have had a concussion, did you?
No, because I was never once made aware that she had fallen.
I want to talk about Mia's first concussion on the high school team. That injury happened weeks before the Rubicon soccer season started, didn't it?
Yeah, it happened a while before.
And the doctor you took her to diagnosed her with a concussion, correct?
Yes, he did.
Can you tell the jury that doctor's name?
Dr. Rick Mueller.
And in diagnosing her concussion, Dr. Mueller sent you and Mia home with a concussion care plan that he expected you and Mia to follow, correct?
Yes, and we did follow it exactly.
Let the record reflect that I am now screen sharing what has been previously marked as Exhibit 2.
So noted.
ACE care plan for Mia Donovan. Ms. Donovan, do you recognize this document?
I do.
Does it appear to be a clear and accurate copy of the care plan sent home with you and Mia by Dr. Mueller?
It seems to be, yes.
Your Honor, there is a stipulation by the parties that this document is to be admitted into evidence without further foundation. So at this time, I move to enter this as Exhibit 2.
Is there any objection to its introduction?
No objections per stipulation 4, Your Honor.
It is so admitted into evidence. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Donovan, I want to direct your attention to the second page. Do you see the section in the middle entitled Returning to Sports?
I do.
Right under that, it says, the following are recommended at the present time. There are some options to check, and the two checked are do not return to PE class at this time, and do not return to sports practices/games at this time. Did I read that correctly?
You did, and we followed those exactly.
And you would agree with me that the last of the options is unchecked and says gradual return to sports practices under the supervision of an appropriate healthcare provider. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
And just so we're clear, that line is unchecked, right?
It is.
And at the very bottom of the page, there's a line checked that says, return to this office, date/time, 4:00 p.m., May 16th, 2019. Did I read that correctly?
You seem to have, yes.
Miss Donovan, you and Mia never returned for that visit, did you?
No, actually at the time we were struggling a little bit with money and Mia was no longer experiencing any symptoms. We had followed all of the doctor's protocols, so we thought it would be okay.
So Dr. Mueller was never able to check that line saying that Mia could gradually return back to sports while under the supervision of an appropriate healthcare provider. Isn't that right?
Well, he never checked it, but we had followed all of the doctor's protocols, and we even rested for 5 weeks. Instead, he just recommended 1 week.
Miss Donovan, not long after you and Mia skipped the appointment with Dr. Mueller, you signed her up for the Rubicon soccer season, didn't you?
I did.
Miss Donovan, you never told the Rubicon Soccer Club that Mia was not yet cleared to play sports, did you?
Well, I believe she was cleared to play. The doctor said that she needed to rest for a week, and that's exactly what we did. We ended up resting for 5 weeks.
But Miss Donovan, Dr. Mueller never officially cleared Mia to play sports, did he?
No, he never officially cleared her.
Let's talk about the first head injury Mia got the week of the showcase in practice on Monday. Let the record reflect that I'm again screen sharing Exhibit 2.
So noted.
Again, Ms. Donovan, referring to the returning to sports section, right under the title, it says, you should never is in all capital letters, return to play if you still have any is also in all capital letters, symptoms. Did I read that instruction correctly?
You did.
And when we're talking about Mia's first head injury that week in practice Monday, Mia did not follow this instruction, did she?
Well, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about.
You know that Mia did not follow this instruction after her Monday head injury, right?
Well, she did follow it. I mean, the coach never let me be aware that she had fallen early in the week, so we thought she was just stressed out because of the tests she had going on.
But Mia knew that those were concussion symptoms and she still returned to play, correct?
I guess you could say that, but I believe it's the coach's responsibility to have done something.
And the second instruction reads, be sure that the PE teacher, coach, and/or athletic trainer are aware of your injury and symptoms. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
And when we're discussing the Monday head injury, Mia never told the Rubicon Soccer Club that she was suffering from concussion symptoms, did she?
Well, the coach didn't do anything about it, and Mia had just told me she was stressed out from tests.
But that's a no. Mia never told the Rubicon Soccer Club that she was suffering from concussion symptoms, did she?
No, but I would see these symptoms as symptoms of stress, not a concussion.
So just to be clear, Ms. Donovan, Mia did not follow the instructions given to her by Dr. Mueller following her Monday head injury, did she?
Well, I guess not, but like I said before, we saw these symptoms as stress because we were never made aware she had fallen that week.
Thank you, but that's a no, right?
Yeah, no.
Thank you. I have no further questions at this time.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, briefly. May I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Donovan, why did you not attribute your daughter's symptoms to a concussion?
Well, I was never made aware that she had fallen earlier in the week. I knew Mia had a lot of tests going on. She was a little stressed out because there were a lot to handle. But if I had known she had fallen earlier in the week by the coach, I would have done something. But I just wasn't made aware.
Thank you, Miss Donovan. No further questions, Your Honor.
And is there recross?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Donovan, and the plaintiff may call their next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff calls Tobin O'Reilly to the stand.
And do you, if you would raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that you will follow the rules to this mock trial competition?
Yes, I do.
You may proceed and you may lower your hand.
Yes, Your Honor. Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
Good morning. My name is Tobin O'Reilly.
And what do you do for a living, Mr. O'Reilly?
I teach sports medicine, health, and PE at Rome High School here in Midlands. I'm also the coach for the high school boys and girls soccer teams.
And do you have an educational background that qualifies you for this position?
Yes, I became a FIFA certified referee in college. I majored in exercise and sports science with a minor in coaching education at the University of Midlands, a couple blocks away, actually. I've also received my advanced national coaching diploma.
And what specifically did you learn about player safety in these courses?
Well, the main takeaway of all those classes and certifications was that coaching comes with a great deal of responsibility. The safety of all of your players is in your hands. I learned how to identify and begin treating sprains, strains, dehydration, malnutrition, and concussions.
Now, Mr. O'Reilly, you mentioned concussions, and we've heard a lot about concussions already today. How have you become aware of the seriousness that concussions pose?
Concussions have been a problem in youth sports for years now, really.
Objection, Your Honor. Under Rule 701, Coach O'Reilly is not allowed to testify on the specialized knowledge about concussions. He is a high school soccer coach and not a medical expert, so therefore he cannot testify about this specialized knowledge.
May I respond?
Thoughts?
Yes, Your Honor. Coach Tobin O'Reilly is a soccer coach who is aware of various concussion protocols and all sorts of stuff like that based on his years of experience being a coach. He is a witness who has more knowledge than a normal person would in this area, and therefore he's able to testify to this knowledge to help the jurors understand this whole case.
If I may respond, Your Honor.
You may.
The plaintiff will be calling a concussion expert next to testify. Therefore, a high school soccer coach testifying on the specialized knowledge is unnecessary and is not allowed under Rule 701.
May I respond?
You may.
Your Honor, while we will be calling a concussion expert to testify, our expert will be testifying to when Mia suffered concussions. Coach Tobin O'Reilly, we are using his testimony today to show the duty of care that coaches should have when they are taking care of their players. Tobin O'Reilly took numerous courses and was well versed in the issues that may be posed during soccer games and practices to his players, and therefore he can testify to those facts today in court.
If I may respond, Your Honor.
I'll go on and rule at this time. I would say lay that foundation. You saying that plaintiff's attorney is nice and all, but if your witness could express what his experience is. And then if you lay the foundation, he may then proceed to answer those questions. And you may cross-examine him, defense counsel, as to nature or the depth of his qualifications in that regard.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may proceed.
Mr. O'Reilly, would you like to go over your educational background again for the members of the jury?
Well, soccer's in my blood, really. I've been playing since I was a wee lad, and I became a FIFA certified referee in college. I played throughout my childhood and in college. I received my advanced national coaching diploma by the National Soccer Coaches Association of America, which was a rigorous course that provided me with lots of training on many injuries, including concussions.
And going back to the question I asked earlier, how have you become aware of the seriousness that concussions pose?
As I said before, concussions have been a problem in youth sports for years now. They're a problem back when I was playing, and they're still one today. In 2016, the news became flooded with the stories of several young athletes that died as a result of repeat concussions. Then in 2018, the CDC released its Heads Up Concussion Awareness Initiative, which provided me with the resources I used to educate myself and my players.
You mentioned resources that you utilize to help yourself and your players identify concussions and other injuries. What resources specifically did you utilize?
Well, the CDC made it really easy for us coaches. They provided online guidebook and online training video, fact sheets to give out to players and their parents, posters, wallet cards, clipboard stickers. You can keep the information with you at all times.
And what information did these resources provide you and your team?
The resources outline the signs and symptoms.
Objection, Your Honor, to facts, not evidence. If Mr. Parker Noblet would like to question Mr. O'Reilly about how he used these resources with his players, I would ask that he enters the document into the exhibits so that we can all refer to it and know exactly what he is talking about.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
As we established earlier in today's trial, we do not necessarily have to enter these documents into evidence to talk about them. We won't be going into the specific details of the documents only what Mr. O'Reilly learned from them, and then how he was able to use this information to keep care of his players.
If I may respond, Your Honor.
You may.
As it was mentioned in Mr. Parker Noblet's question, this will be going to say how Coach O'Reilly used these resources to influence his players, and to talk about how he implemented those. The document should be entered to discuss that.
I believe, again, as I stated previously, you may discuss the document without introducing it into evidence, but if there are specific areas that you wish to question the witness about on cross-examination and you believe the evidence is relevant, you may certainly, nothing precludes you from entering it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
May I proceed?
May I proceed?
And what information did these resources provide you and your team?
The resources outline the signs and symptoms of concussions, what to do if you suspect an athlete has sustained one, and how to prevent them. It was all out there, easy to find and free. The best part was you didn't even need a coaching background to understand it.
Now, Mr. O'Reilly, have you ever had to utilize these resources in an actual game or practice?
Unfortunately, I have. My star player, Mia Donovan, took a hard hit to the head against our arch rivals, Carthage High School, on a game on Wednesday, May 8, 2019. As any respectable coach would, I immediately pulled Mia out of the game and used my CDC clipboard sticker to assess her condition. Mia appeared dazed and answered my questions very slowly. I concluded that Mia had likely sustained a concussion and benched her for the rest of the game.
And what did you do after making this one substitution?
Objection, Your Honor. Under Rule 403, this testimony is more prejudicial than probative because it is going to confuse the jury. This concussion that's being discussed happened 7 months prior to the facts of the case today, and therefore will just confuse the jury about the facts that are being discussed today with the Rubicon Soccer Club.
May I respond?
You may.
Your Honor, I don't believe the fact that Mia Donovan suffered a concussion prior to her next concussion is more prejudicial than probative. In fact, this is a vital part of today's case. As you will hear, and you already heard from Casey Donovan, this concussion was disclosed to Rubicon Soccer Club, but they failed to look at it. In this concussion, we are establishing that it did indeed happen, and now we're showing the appropriate action that coaches should take to establish duty of care. This is highly probative.
Any further argument on your objection?
Your Honor, by going into the details of this prior concussion, it is going to confuse the jury.
I think at this time, the court believes that the jury will be able to keep the two separate instances straight and will go on and allow the testimony. So objection overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. May I proceed?
Were you finished with your answer, Mr. O'Reilly?
No, I wasn't. As I was saying, I just followed standard protocols. I contacted Mia's mother, Casey Donovan, and instructed her to go to the doctor the following morning. After all, the motto of the Heads Up Initiative is, when in doubt, get checked out. I know full well that Mia not being there may cost us our next game, but Mia's safety and the safety of all of my players is what's paramount.
Now, after Mia's first concussion, would you take any further action to educate yourself on concussion safety?
Yes, it's every coach's responsibility to keep up with the resources on player safety. As soon as I saw the opportunity to do so, of course I had to take it. Towards the end of late May in 2019, I learned about a $4 mobile app that was meant for sports trainers and coaches like myself. It uses the CDC information on concussion symptoms to provide coaches with the right questions to ask their injured players on the sidelines, and then immediately analyze the results and allows me to send an email to that player's parents and their physician. Again, it could not be easier.
Now, why have you taken all of these actions to educate yourself about concussion safety?
The truth is, concussions aren't something to take lightly. They can cause life-changing injuries, even death. I know the legislature passed a bill, I think back in June, about the procedure for athletes returning to play after such an injury. But quite frankly, that law didn't matter to me.
Why didn't that law matter to you?
I already cared about my players. I already knew that I was the one responsible for their safety. And so I gathered the resources to educate myself, my players, and their families. I know safety should always come before winning, but I guess that's not true for everyone.
Thank you, Mr. O'Reilly. Your Honor, at this time, I have no further questions.
Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
Coach O'Reilly, let's be clear. You weren't present during any of the practices or games at the Rubicon Soccer Club where Mia was injured, correct?
No, I wasn't, but I wish I was, because I had made sure Mia had immediately gone to a doctor if I had been at that practice on Monday.
But you weren't there, and because you weren't there, that means you have no personal knowledge of how Mia was acting at those practices or games, correct?
No, but I did have Mia on class that week.
And because you weren't at any of those practices or games, that means you don't know how Coach Dempsey interacted with Mia and pulled her to the sidelines, correct?
No, I did not.
And isn't it true that the reason you weren't there for any of this Rubicon Soccer Club experience was because they didn't hire you as director when you had applied, correct?
That's not the reason I was there. My job as a teacher, and I had to prepare my materials for the next day. I can't just leave my students behind so I can watch Mia play.
But the reason you're not there for this entire Rubicon Soccer Club experience is because when you applied for director, they didn't hire you, correct?
No, they didn't hire me. Instead, they hired Jordan Reddick, which I personally didn't agree with because I've seen Jordan do some horrible things on the sidelines. They've kicked over chairs, knocked down trash cans, stuff you expect when listening to a story about William Wallace, not a youth soccer coach.
Exactly, and you felt so strongly that the job should have been yours that you posted some really nasty comments about the defendant, didn't you?
Sure, it wasn't the most professional thing to do, but I've seen Jordan do some pretty unprofessional things as well.
But regardless of Jordan or how unprofessional it was, it doesn't change the fact that you did it, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. I would ask that my witness be allowed to finish his response to the last question.
My apologies, Your Honor. I thought he was finished.
You may continue, sir.
As I was saying, I've seen Jordan hurl insults at players like a hooligan. I mean, they were yelling at players for mistakes. These are kids we're talking about, not athletes that are being paid millions to go out there and play soccer.
Regardless of what you've seen Jordan do, it doesn't change the fact that you posted nasty comments about the defendant, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. More prejudicial than probative. May I proffer?
Response? Is there a response? Sorry.
Oh, yes, Your Honor. I thought Mr. Parker-Noblett was going to continue with the objection. Your Honor, I'm exploring the bias of this witness as to the fact that he was not hired and is here to testify against them, and bias is always probative. And under Rule 403, the testimony must be substantially more prejudicial than probative, and that is not the case here.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
The statements that were posted online that opposing counsel is referring to were not provided in our case packet, nor are mentioned in any detail in the witness's statement. Therefore, to ask any questions based on these statements specifically would only be used to inflame the passions of the jury, as there's no actual context to this situation.
If I may respond, Your Honor.
Final response.
I'm not going into the details of any of these messages sent, and it is said in our case that Coach O'Reilly did post nasty comments about the defendant, Jordan Reddick, and this is exploring the bias of this witness, which is probative.
Objection is overruled. You may continue.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. So Coach O'Reilly, I'll ask one more time to clear it up for the jury. You did post nasty comments about Jordan Reddick, yes?
I did, but if you think that has to do anything with why I'm here today, I assure you it's not. The reason I'm here today is to promote player safety.
Well, speaking of promoting player safety, you testified a lot on direct about the concussion resources available to soccer coaches, and I want to discuss how you implemented those. You obtained a concussion fact sheet issued by the CDC and sent it home with all of your players and students, correct?
Yeah, I did.
Let the record reflect that I will now be screen sharing what has been previously marked as Exhibit 6.
So noted.
Coach O'Reilly, this is the document that you sent home, correct?
It appears so, yeah.
And this is an official document issued by the Centers for Disease Control, isn't it?
Yeah, it was issued by the CDC.
And it's also generated in the ordinary course of business by the CDC, right?
I don't know what the CDC's duty is, but I guess you could say that.
And just so we're completely clear, your intention on sending this document home with your students and players was so that the information would have an effect on them, correct?
The reason I sent the document home was so they could have that in their back of the head as a reminder.
So that's a yes, Coach O'Reilly?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense moves to enter Exhibit 6 into evidence.
Is there any objection to its introduction?
No, Your Honor.
It is so admitted into evidence. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Towards the upper right, it says, "What should I do if I think I have a concussion?" Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, that's what it says.
And directly below it, it says, "Tell your coaches and parents," right?
Yeah.
Tell your coaches and parents. Now, as a coach, you would agree that this is good advice, right?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
And that's because as a coach, you don't want your players hiding symptoms of a concussion because it makes it harder for you as a coach to protect them, doesn't it?
It does make it harder, but it's our job as coaches to look out for our players when they're vulnerable. So if a player is not acting the same way, it's our responsibility to make sure that they're fine.
But again, Coach O'Reilly, when a player is hiding internal concussion symptoms, it does make it harder for you as a coach to protect them, doesn't it?
It does make it harder, but as I said before, our job as coaches is to help players when they're vulnerable.
Well, if you sent this document home with all of your players, that means Mia Donovan would have received this document, correct?
Yes, she would have.
Coach O'Reilly, you've talked a lot about your role as a soccer coach, but you're also a teacher, correct?
I am, yeah.
And Mia Donovan was in your class when she has to sit out after getting her first head injury playing for the Rubicon Soccer Club, correct?
Yeah, that Tuesday she has to sit out of class.
You've talked a lot on Direct about what you do know about concussions and Mia, and I'd like to take a moment to talk about what you didn't know. Coach O'Reilly, Chris Durant was also a student in that class where Mia asked to sit out, correct?
Yeah, they were.
But you didn't know that Mia told Chris that she was hiding a concussion from you, Casey Donovan, and her coaches at the Rubicon Soccer Club, did you?
No, nor did I know that Coach Shannon Dempsey didn't take the proper actions on Monday at practice. If I had been there on that practice on Monday, I would have made sure that Mia got the treatment that she needed and the rest that she needed.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Response?
Your Honor, Coach O'Reilly has went on and on about how Coach Dempsey simply didn't try, but the truth is that Mia didn't speak up, and Mia was hiding concussion symptoms purposefully, and even her own coach at the high school didn't even notice it. So therefore, this is relevant.
May I respond?
You may.
Your Honor, opposing counsel is speaking to statements that were issued by Chris Durant or to Chris Durant, which could be explored when they call Chris Durant later to the stand today. In addition, Chris Durant does not owe any duty of care to Mia for when she was playing on Rubicon Soccer, and neither does Tobin O'Reilly. Saying that they should have identified these symptoms is misleading to the jury because they had no duty of care in today's case.
If I may respond, Your Honor.
You may. Final response.
I'm not exploring the statements made by Chris Durant. I'm simply questioning Coach O'Reilly's knowledge on his soccer player, to which he thought the coach was ignoring concussion symptoms, when in fact, Coach O'Reilly didn't recognize them himself.
The court at this time will overrule the objection. You may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Coach O'Reilly, I'll ask again. You didn't know that Mia was hiding a concussion from you and Casey Donovan and her coaches at the Rubicon Soccer Club, correct?
No, I did not.
And to go back to when Mia got a concussion playing for you, you said that in order for Mia to begin playing again, she would need medical clearance, correct?
Well, I sent her to a doctor, so if I had been at that practice on Monday, I would have done the same thing.
And when she got the concussion playing for you, you said that you wanted her to have medical clearance before she began playing again, correct?
I said I wanted her to go to see the doctor.
And get medical clearance, to err on the side of caution, correct?
To get checked by a doctor, yeah.
Just so we're clear, medical clearance means a doctor must assess Mia and determine if it's safe for her to play again or not, right?
Yeah,
But you didn't know that Mia and Casey Donovan never got medical clearance for Mia to begin playing soccer again until today, did you?
no, because after really when Mia suffered that concussion on May 8th, that was during our state tournament, and the following week we got knocked out of the state championship, unfortunately. So I didn't see Mia afterwards.
But you didn't know that Mia did not get medical clearance, correct?
No, because I never talked with Mia about it afterwards. As I said before, our soccer season was over.
And to sustain a concussion and then begin playing soccer again without medical clearance, as a soccer coach, that would be a mistake, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it would also be a mistake not to check up on your players when they've taken such a hit. If I had been at that practice on Monday, I would have made sure Mia had gone to see a doctor.
Well, thank you, Coach O'Reilly, but I didn't ask you that. I asked that if you got a concussion and played without medical clearance, that would be a mistake, yes?
Depending on the context, yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
Now, Mr. O'Reilly, you stated on cross-examination that you weren't there for when Mia was hit in the head. What would you have done if you were there?
If I had been at that practice
Your Honor,
on
to
Monday,
speculation. By asking Coach O'Reilly what he would have done, that is pure speculation.
May I respond?
You may.
Your Honor, Coach O'Reilly wouldn't be entering anyone else's mindset by stating what he would have done. Instead, he's simply stating based on his rationally based perception on what he's done in previous instances where a player has hit their head, and he is more than able to testify to this.
If I may respond, Your Honor. By being questioned about past occurrences, the witness is guessing as to what he would have done, and that is speculation, regardless of him being a soccer coach.
I believe that the witness can testify. It can be brought up during closing argument as far as the strength of the testimony to that, but it is something that the witness is able to testify to. You may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Would you like to answer that question?
yeah, as I was saying, I would use the CDC resources that are easily available to check up on Mia. And then based off that, really, regardless of that result, I would have sent Mia to the doctor to get a second opinion. And if needed, so she would get the rest that she needed.
And Mr. O'Reilly, what would you have done if you saw a player be elbowed in the head during a game?
I would pull them out of the game
Objection,
immediately.
Your Honor. This question is out of the scope of my cross and is therefore not allowed to be asked.
May I respond?
You may.
Your Honor, opposing counsel mentioned instances where Mr. O'Reilly was not there. I am simply exploring what he would have done if he was indeed there.
Response?
Your Honor, I never mentioned anything about an elbow to the head, and therefore this is out of the scope of my cross.
Brief response, Your Honor. Well, they didn't speak about the specific instance. They did talk about concussive events, which is what we are exploring here. I'm simply giving an extra detail as to what would have happened.
I'll go on and sustain the objection at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And final question, were these resources available to you before Mia's injury?
Yes, they're available in 2018.
Thank you, Mr. O'Reilly. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you. And recross?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. And at this time, is the plaintiff prepared to call their final witness?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, the plaintiff calls Dr. Bailey Register to stand.
Dr. Register, if you would raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that you will adhere to the rules of this mock trial competition?
I swear.
You may proceed.
Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bailey Register.
And what do you do for a living?
Well, I'm the director of the Geller Sport-Related Concussion Research Center in Palatine Hill. As the director of the Geller Research Center, I spend a lot of my time researching the diagnosis and long-term neurological impact of sport-related concussions. More recently, our center has focused more on injury awareness and prevention, especially among younger athletes. I also serve as department chair for the Department of Exercise and Sports Science at the University of Midlands. And in the past, I have worked as the athletic trainer for the university's football team.
What is your educational background?
Well, I received my bachelor's and master's degree in athletic training from the University of Midlands. After that, I moved to Charlottesville, Virginia, where I received my doctorate in sports medicine from the University of Virginia.
And what awards or publications, if any, have you received?
I received over 200 publications in scholarly peer-reviewed journals, and I've written over 10
Objection,
chapters.
Your Honor, to relevancy. The amount of awards or the specific awards that Dr. Register has received is extremely irrelevant to the case today.
Your Honor, we're simply laying foundation for Dr. Register to be entered as an expert, as this is knowledge and data from the field showing that she has experience in this field.
The court will allow the information. Objection overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Were you finished, Dr. Register?
No. I've also received the Dorrance Educator of the Year Award from the American College of Sports Medicine, as well as a medal for my distinguished research from the National Athletic Trainers Association.
Your Honor, at this time, the plaintiff moves to have the court recognize Dr. Bailey Register as an expert in the field of sports medicine.
Is there any response to that request?
No, Your Honor.
She is so recognized as an expert. You may proceed.
Now, Dr. Register, how are you involved in today's case?
Well, as part of our work at the Geller Center, we provide pre-concussion baseline and then post-injury follow-up testing as well. Mia Donovan came to the Geller Center in February of 2020, a few months after her in-game accident that occurred in December. I worked with Mia to determine what her symptoms were and what exactly went wrong.
And were you able to come to a conclusion in today's case?
Yes, I was.
Were the facts and data reviewed to come to your conclusion reasonably relied upon in the field?
Yes.
Now, before we go into your work with Mia, I'd just like to take the time to discuss what exactly is a concussion.
A concussion is a form of mild traumatic brain injury that occurs when there's a blow or jolt to the head. The acceleration and deceleration forces shake the brain and can cause a multitude of symptoms.
And what are these symptoms?
Well, there are a lot of symptoms. So many, in fact, they've been divided into 4 categories. So the first category involves cognitive activity. So this would include difficulty thinking clearly, concentrating, remembering new information, and just feeling mentally sluggish overall. Then there are the physical effects. This can include nausea, vomiting, blurry vision, dizziness, and headaches. The third and fourth categories involve mood changes, as well as sleep pattern changes that are caused due to an increased sensitivity to light or noise.
Now, if a player were to suffer from a concussion, what should they do?
If a player suffers from a concussion or even seems to have suffered from one, that player needs to be immediately removed from the game and made to rest. Furthermore, that player should seek advice from a healthcare professional as soon as possible.
Now, why should a player be made to seek medical advice for a possible concussion, even if they say they're all right?
Well, often it appears that players attempt to hide their injuries. They simply don't understand that they have been seriously injured. You see, that's the unique feature of a brain injury. The injured person may not be aware of it because of their injuries, and this is why coaches are so pivotal in this process.
Why are coaches so pivotal in the process of diagnosing and treating concussions?
Well, they should be very aware about concussion diagnosis. They're often the ones that have to take the initiative to help their players when they're vulnerable and can't help themselves. This is particularly true when it comes to youth athletics. Kids tend to think that they're invincible by the mere fact that they're youth.
And are there any other actions that should be taken to protect youth athletes from suffering concussions?
Yes. Organizations involved with youth athletics need to ask their players about any past incidents of concussions, and no responsible club would fail to gather such information. It's been found that athletes are far more susceptible to a second concussion with an even lesser application of force. And in this way, coaches need to pay closer attention to those affected players.
Now, I'd like to discuss your work with Mia. What did you do to evaluate Mia's symptoms?
Well, during her visit in February, I conducted a number of assessments, including computerized cognitive testing, computerized balance testing, clinical cognitive imbalance testing, symptom assessment, and then a review of a recorded concussion history. I also conducted interviews of both Mia and Casey Donovan.
And what did these tests indicate?
The tests indicate that Mia is suffering from post-concussive syndrome. She displays difficulty with memory, information processing, and inattentiveness. She also suffers from severe headaches and mood swings, as well as a number of other physical symptoms as well.
Now, based off your assessments and interviews, when do you believe Mia suffered a concussion?
Well, it appears that she had 3 undiagnosed concussive events. The first one likely happening on December 2nd of 2019 during a practice Coach Dempsey was holding during a practice before the showcase game.
Objection, Your Honor, to a lack of personal knowledge. This witness is being asked to testify about events that she was not present for and can therefore not testify about that without that personal knowledge.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
Dr. Register is simply testifying to the knowledge that she gained from her interviews with both Mia Donovan and Casey Donovan.
At this time, the court will allow the testimony. Objection overruled. You may explore further upon cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
As I was saying, it appears that the first concussive event occurred on December 2nd of 2019 during a practice Coach Dempsey was holding before the showcase game.
Now, what should have happened after the first concussive event on December 2nd?
Coach Dempsey's responsibility was clear. He just needed to make a phone call to Mia's mother, informing her that she needed to seek medical attention for her daughter due to a possible concussive event. But as I understand it, that's not what happened.
And when did the other concussive events take place?
On December 6th, Coach Dempsey allowed Mia to play in the game despite her injury previously in that week. There was a blow early on in the game, and then a second blow that was the cause of Mia's loss of consciousness. The fact that there were 2 concussive events in the same game is a key factor in Mia's ongoing and debilitating problems.
Now, what should have happened after the first concussive event on December 6th?
Again, Coach Dempsey's responsibility was clear. He just needed to make a substitution on his roster. Especially since Mia was injured previously in that week, it was not safe for her to be playing in that game.
Now, what is your final conclusion in today's case?
If Coach Dempsey had recognized Mia's symptoms, removed her from the game, and urged Mia's mother to seek medical attention, Mia would have received timely and appropriate care, and that would have greatly increased her chances for a full recovery. However, Rubicon Soccer Club didn't do these things, and Mia is suffering the consequences.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
Professor Register, sometimes the athletes can be so wanting to play that they deliberately hide concussion injuries from their coaches and from their parents. But that's a mistake, isn't it?
Of course, they should be more upfront about it. However, we have to take into account that their judgment has been impaired due to a brain injury. So the responsibility more lies on the coaches to be looking out for their players.
And it would be a mistake to hide these concussion symptoms because it can make it harder for someone to help them, correct?
Again, it would have been ideal for her to be more upfront. However, she has suffered a brain injury, so the responsibility in this case lies on Coach Dempsey.
Now, Professor Register, some concussion symptoms only occur on the inside, like headaches or confusion, and those internal concussion symptoms can be harder for someone to detect, correct?
Perhaps for a stranger, somebody just seeing Mia off the street. However, a coach who sees Mia play in a sport that requires high levels of concentration and coordination would be able to see that she isn't performing as well because she can't concentrate, or that she's suffering from a headache.
So that's a yes. They can be harder for another person to detect, correct?
It would be harder for just a random person, but for a coach, it would be quite simple to see it.
So let's say we have an athlete who has had a prior history with concussions and knows what those symptoms are. And then this athlete gets another head injury and these symptoms come back. In that case, they should absolutely tell a parent or coach about this, shouldn't they?
Again, as I've said, it's ideal that she would. However, she suffered a brain injury. Her judgment is impaired, and therefore her coaches should be looking out for her since they saw this concussive event occur.
But in fact, in that situation, it would be a dangerous mistake not to tell a parent or coach about the suspected concussion, correct?
It's a dangerous mistake for a coach not to inform their parent that their child has suffered from a concussive event.
And when we talk about an athlete who has had a prior history with concussions, knows what the symptoms are, gets another head injury, and proceeds to hide those symptoms, well, that's exactly what Mia Donovan did here, isn't it?
She may have possibly hid her symptoms, but as I've said, she's suffered a brain injury. It's up to the coaches to be looking out for their players and their safety.
Yes, and if Mia were to hide her concussion injuries over the course of an entire week, that would have been a mistake made by Mia, correct, Professor Register?
As I've said, she suffered a brain injury. The responsibility doesn't lie on her, but it could make it more difficult.
Now, Professor Register, after a concussion diagnosis and evaluation, physicians use what's called an ACE care plan, detailing what the patient should and should not do and what follow-ups are recommended at the present time, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, let the record reflect that I will be screen sharing what has already been entered into evidence as Exhibit 2, the ACE care plan for Mia Donovan.
So noted.
This is Mia's care plan, correct?
Yes, it is.
Now, I want to draw your attention to the second page. Do you see in the second page, there's a box entitled Returning to Sports, and it says the following are recommended at the present time, and it's checked that Mia was not to return to PE class at this time and not to return to sports practices or games at this time. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, and I believe she didn't.
And then at the bottom of the page, it says that Mia had a follow-up appointment on May 16th, 2019, correct?
Yes.
Now, Professor Register, are you aware that Mia and Casey Donovan just skipped that appointment?
They may not have attended that visit, but as I heard, she had up to 5 weeks of rest, which definitely exceeds the typical.
But that's a yes, she did skip this
recommendation.
appointment, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
So she would have been disregarding medical advice, and that's a mistake, isn't it, Professor Register?
It would have been ideal for them to go. However, she did have 5 weeks of rest.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. And I believe this is the conclusion of the plaintiff's case in chief. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So at this time, the court will recess for 5 minutes and we will join you all again then. Thank you. Do we have everyone back with us?
The plaintiff is ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor, the defense is also ready to proceed.
And the court would ask I presume our bailiff, Mr. Mattingly, can you make sure that all of our scoring judges are present?
Let's see, members of the jury. Looks like that they are here.
You want us to answer yes or
Type it in chat, please.
do what?
Type it in the chat. Yeah, we've got juror Nick Payne, juror Harris, juror. I believe we are ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Okay. Then, welcome back. Court is back in session. Plaintiff has concluded their case in chief, and the defense may now call their first witness.
Yes, Your Honor, the defense calls Chris Durant to the stand.
Mr. Durant, if you can raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will adhere to the rules of this mock trial competition?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Can you please state your name for the record?
My name is Chris Durant.
And how old are you, Mr. Durant?
I am 18 years old.
Are you employed?
No, I'm still in high school on Zoom. I can't get away from it.
And what high school do you go to?
I'm a senior at Rome High School.
Do you know Mia Donovan?
I do, very well. She's my best friend. We've been friends since middle school when we both ran track.
So why is Mia's best friend here today testifying for the defense?
Well, to make a long story short, a sheriff's officer showed up at my door with a piece of paper. I thought I was in major trouble, but it turns out it was just a subpoena for Mia's trial.
And what knowledge do you have regarding this case?
Well, I really don't want to say because Mia made me promise, but I do watch a lot of Law and Order, so I know I have to. Mia got a really bad head injury and she kept it a secret from her mom and her coaches.
And how do you know this?
She told me several times at school. She made me promise to keep it a secret.
Do you know specifically when this secret head injury occurred?
It was the week of that soccer game where all of the college coaches came to watch. That game was on a Friday and she hit her head a few days earlier on Monday.
And what exactly did Mia say about this head injury?
She said she was really worried about it. And she said she was having the same symptoms like the first time she got a concussion.
Did she ever say why she wanted to keep her concussion a secret?
Well, she didn't want to miss that big soccer game that Friday. She couldn't go to college unless she got a scholarship, so it seemed to be a really big deal to her.
So you said the head injury happened on Monday. Did you see Mia on Monday before the head injury occurred?
I did.
And how did she appear to you then?
Totally normal. I mean, we had just finished a pre-calculus test that was super hard. She went to soccer practice and then I went home to practice my three-pointer.
And when did you see or talk to Mia next?
It was Tuesday, the next day.
Did you notice anything different about her on Tuesday?
Yeah, it concerned me a little. We had exercise class together and we were doing Zumba. I was busting out my TikTok moves, but Mia looked really uncoordinated.
Did you try to find out what was wrong with her?
I said, yeah. She said, I hit my head really hard in practice last night. And then she was like, you know what this feels like? It feels just like the concussion I got before.
And do you know anything about the concussion she got before?
Just a little bit. She got a concussion while playing for our high school varsity soccer team.
So when she's telling you that she suspected a second concussion, did she mention who else knew about it?
She said that no one else knew, not even her mom, Casey.
And did she say why she wasn't telling Mrs. Donovan?
She was really worried Casey wouldn't let her play in that game on Friday.
And did you agree to keep this a secret?
I did, but I really regret it.
Why do you regret it?
Well, if I had told someone, she wouldn't have been able to play in that game and she wouldn't have gotten hurt.
So this is Tuesday when she's telling you about the second concussion and you agree to keep it a secret. Did you see Mia any more later that week?
I did.
And how did she appear to you then?
She seemed groggy, still really out of it.
Did you talk to Mia any more later that week?
Yeah, she was walking around like a zombie off The Walking Dead. On Friday, I had enough, so I gave her a look like this. She hates that look, so she snapped back at me. Remember your promise, Chris. You can't tell anyone.
And how did you react?
I wussed out, as anyone would. I didn't tell anyone.
And what happened after that?
Well, she wouldn't play in that college showcase, and she got really hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Durant. Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
Now, Chris, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Is that okay?
Yes.
Now, on Tuesday, December 3rd, you could tell there was something wrong with Mia, couldn't you?
I could. She seemed a little out of it and, not her normal self.
She seemed quiet that day, correct?
Yes,
And she looked sort of down, correct?
a little bit, but I don't know what she was feeling.
And she was really uncoordinated in your advanced personal fitness class, correct?
Yeah, like I just said, she was pretty uncoordinated.
In fact, she couldn't even make it through that class, could she?
No, she had to sit out.
And then Mia complained that she had a headache to you, correct?
Yeah, she asked for some ibuprofen and I gave her some Tylenol.
Now, you were worried for your friend, weren't you?
Really worried. I mean, we've been best friends for all this time. I mean, why would I not be worried for her?
Exactly. Mia wasn't usually like this, was she?
She wasn't usually like this, but, I figured she had just had a bad day or was really stressed.
And so you asked her what was wrong, correct?
I did ask her what was wrong, and she said that she suspected that she may have gotten another concussion in a game.
That's right. She told you that she had hit her head in the practice the night before.
Yeah, she made me promise to keep it a secret.
Now, based upon her symptoms and knowing she might have hit her head, you were worried that she might have suffered a concussion?
Well, that and the fact that she told me she thought she did, but I mean, yeah, I was worried for her. I want the best for her.
Now, you're not a medical professional, are you?
No, I'm still in high school. I take a lot of AP classes, but none of them relate to medicine.
And you're not a coach either?
No, I play basketball, but I'm not the coach of the basketball team.
That's right. You're just a high school student, correct?
I am a high school student, like I just said.
But even as a high school student, Mia's symptoms were apparent.
Yeah, but she also told me.
But earlier on Tuesday, December 3rd, you saw her being quiet and down, correct?
I did. She didn't talk to me as usually. We used to talk about soccer and basketball and all of these things. And that's the great thing about Mia. She'll listen to you whenever you have to say, and she even cares about it, even if she's never heard of it before. That's why everybody at Rome High School loves Mia.
So Mia's symptoms were apparent, correct?
To me, but I've known her for many, many years, since middle school.
Now, based upon the concussion posters in the gym, you were concerned about your friend, weren't you?
Yeah, I had skimmed over the concussion poster before, but you know how high schoolers are. You'll read it once and then eventually it'll fall to the wayside.
Now, the next time you saw Mia was on Thursday, December 5th, correct?
Yeah.
And she still was not better, was she?
No, she wasn't, but
Objection, Your Honor, to speculation. This witness cannot testify to whether Mia was not better or was better, since that's an internal feeling and the symptoms were also internal, and that would have Mr. Durant have to guess how Mia was feeling, and that is therefore speculation.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
I'm not asking Mr. Durant to speculate as how she's feeling, as he was earlier being able to visibly see that she was quiet and looked down and groggy. And I'm asking if that was still happening for Mia.
Your Honor, if I may respond.
You may.
Opposing counsel asked if she was feeling better, and that is an internal feeling that doesn't relate to what he saw, whether grogginess or quiet. feeling better is an internal feeling causing my witness to have to speculate, and that is speculation.
I think at this time, the court will state that the witness can testify to his observations. So the objection is overruled. You may proceed.
Yes, Your
Thank
Honor.
you. So on Thursday, December 5th, Mia was not better, was she?
She didn't seem to be any better. I mean, she was still quiet and everything, but we also had a lot of tests that week. That week was super stressful for us. We are AP students after all, really hard classes.
But she was not better, correct?
No, she wasn't, to my knowledge at least.
Now, she didn't even try to attend your advanced personal fitness class that day, did she?
No, she walked in and then went to the library, and I wanted to follow her, but I also didn't want it to seem suspicious. So I wanted to keep her secret as best as I could. I regret that so much now.
But she didn't look well, did she?
Well, not to my knowledge.
Now, the next time you saw Mia was on Friday, December 6th, correct?
Yes,
And that was the day of the college showcase tournament?
it was.
Now, she looked even worse, didn't she, that day?
To my knowledge, yeah. I mean, I begged her not to go to that game, but I told her, I said, please don't go. I mean, look at you, you're not feeling well. And she said, remember your promise, Chris. You can't tell anyone.
But she also looked groggy that day too.
She seemed to be.
And she kept rubbing her head throughout the class, didn't she?
She did.
Now, based upon reading those concussion posters, you were even more worried about your friend, weren't you?
I mean, I knew the signs and symptoms of a concussion. I mean, I am an athlete as well. So, I mean, I knew what they were and I saw a few of them, but I mean, she also told me that she was having the same symptoms as a concussion, and I've known her all of these years. I could tell something was off just by that.
And that was the last day you saw Mia before her injury?
Yes, it was.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Redirect.
Yes, Your Honor, very briefly. Mr. Durant, I just want to ask you one more time. Did Mia know about her concussion symptoms?
She absolutely knew. I mean, that's the first thing she said when she made me promise to keep a secret, is that she thought she had another concussion and that she was showing the same symptoms. I mean, I just really wish that I didn't keep that secret, because she absolutely knew that she needed help.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Recross.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you all. Does the defense wish to call their next witness?
Your Honor, at this time, the defense calls Coach Shannon Dempsey to the stand.
Coach Dempsey, if you would raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that you will abide by the terms and rules of this mock trial competition?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Coach Dempsey, you've muted yourself again.
Oh, sorry. There's a soccer coach for you.
Can you please state your name for the record?
My name is Shannon Dempsey.
And how are you employed?
I am a boys soccer coach at the Rubicon Soccer Club.
And can you tell the jury a little bit about your background in soccer?
Sure. I've played and coached in soccer my entire life. I was even good enough to go professional too, but they didn't pay enough, so I decided to take a job coaching club teams.
And did you ever have the opportunity to coach Mia Donovan?
Yes, I did.
What kind of team was Mia on with you?
Mia was on our premier team at the Rubicon Soccer Club. This was actually the one and only year I'd ever coached a girls' team.
And how did you come to coach this team that Mia was on?
Well, the original coach had a family emergency and had to leave immediately. So I jumped at the opportunity and stepped in to take the spot.
How did Mia's team do?
We did great. I mean, we won the state championship, and we had 6 girls recruited to colleges.
Speaking of college recruiting, can you tell us about the college showcase match?
Yes. This was an exhibition game set up for the girls to show off their skills to all the college coaches.
And did this exhibition game have any bearing on the team's win-loss record?
Oh, no. This game took place 3 weeks after the season had already ended.
Let's talk about that. The suggestion by the plaintiff today is that your team was overly competitive and that Mia was injured in the college showcase match because of that win-at-all-cost atmosphere. How do you respond to that?
I totally disagree.
And why is that?
The college showcase match wasn't competitive at all. Winning wasn't even the point.
And how does a team practice for a game where winning isn't the point?
Well, it was a very laid-back 3 weeks. We took 1 week off and only practiced twice the week of the showcase.
We heard earlier today about one of those practices where Mia may have gotten hurt. What do you remember about that?
Yeah, it was at the very end of practice, about 10 minutes left. She had fallen and hit her head, so I pulled her out immediately, and she sat out those last 10 minutes.
What happened after practice had finished?
Mia just got up and ran straight to her car, so I assumed everything was okay.
Before she left, did Mia talk to you to make you aware of any issues?
No.
As the week went on, did Mia ever contact you to let you know she wasn't feeling well due to hitting her head?
No, not a single time.
Let's move on to the college showcase. Before or during the game, did Mia ever let you know that she was suffering from symptoms of a concussion?
No, she sure didn't.
And as an experienced coach, did you observe her to be suffering from any visible symptoms of a concussion?
No. At that time, she seemed to be totally and completely normal.
And why do you say that she seemed totally and completely normal to you?
Because she was playing great. She was taking shots on goal and just strutting like a boss.
We know that Mia was injured and taken to the hospital in the second half of the game, but we heard that there may have been an incident in the first half where she may have gotten hurt. What do you remember about that?
Yeah, I really don't think she was injured. She was bumped by a defender when trying to score.
She was bumped. Did the referee call a foul or hand out a yellow or red card?
No, it was nothing like that at all.
Did Mia fall to the ground?
No. And you know how soccer players fall. I mean, I teach my kids to exaggerate every fall they take. It really just looked like she was mad that she didn't score.
Did you see Mia at halftime?
Yes, I did. I gave the normal pump-up coach halftime speech, and she promised me she was going to score.
During halftime, did Mia tell you that she was injured?
No, she never did.
Did she tell you that she wasn't feeling well?
Nope.
As an experienced coach in your involvement with Mia, did she appear to be visibly confused in any way?
No, again, she seemed totally fine.
From your previous interactions with Mia, did she seem to have any trouble speaking?
Not at all.
And how did Mia play in the second half?
Mia played extremely well. She was weaving in and out of defenders. It was awesome.
We know that Mia was injured and taken to the hospital, but this is a very important question, Coach Dempsey. How long was Mia playing in the second half before her injury occurred?
At least 15 minutes.
15 minutes. During those 15 minutes, did you observe anything as her coach that led you to believe that she appeared uncoordinated?
No, not at all.
From having previously seen Mia playing games, did she appear to be low on energy?
No, it was actually quite the opposite.
During the 15 minutes that Mia was on the field, did you observe anything as her coach that would lead you to believe that Mia was suffering from symptoms of a concussion?
Not at all. I keep going back and replaying that moment over and over again in my head, thinking of a time that I could have at least tried to pull Mia from the game. And honestly, I can't say that I could have.
Thank you, Coach Dempsey, and thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions at this time.
Thank you. Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
Now, Mr. Dempsey, I would like to talk to you about one form. Now, you are aware that Rubicon Soccer requires their players to submit a medical release form before joining their team. Isn't that right?
Yes, all players have to fill out this form to be on file at Rubicon.
And this form contains vital medical information for each of your players. Isn't that right?
Yes, it can.
And Mia would have submitted one of these forms to your club as well.
Yes, she would have had to, or she wouldn't have been able to play.
That's right. Rubicon actually required these forms before the players were allowed to play.
Yes.
Now, you never looked at this form before Mia's injury, did you?
I never looked at this form before Mia's injury, no, but after her injury had occurred, I went back and I did read the form, and thankfully I did, because it only confirmed the actions that I took as a coach to pull her from that practice and ask her if she was okay, but she never told me that she wasn't.
Well, Mr. Dempsey, upon looking at that form, you realized Mia had disclosed she'd suffered a previous concussion. Isn't that right?
Yes, it did say that, but knowing that she had a previous concussion would have never changed the fact that I still pulled her from that practice on that Monday, and I still asked her if she was okay, and she never said otherwise.
Of course, Mr. Dempsey, but not knowing that Mia had suffered a previous concussion, you didn't look to take any extra precautions to keep Mia safe, did you?
I might not have looked as closely as I could have, but no, I would have changed none of my actions as a coach to what I would have done to protect Mia.
You didn't do any further research to educate yourself on player concussion safety, did you?
Well, I did have a national D-level certification as required to be a part of the Rubicon Soccer Club, which did have a lesson about concussions.
But you never utilized any other resources to help identify or treat concussions, did you?
No, I was never used any other outside resources.
And you didn't even use that one form, a resource that was right in front of you, right?
I took the actions as a coach as I would have reading the form or not. I saw that she looked odd at that practice. I pulled her from that practice, and I continued to ask her if she was okay, and she continued to never say one word, help. And so I allowed her to continue to play.
Well, Mr. Dempsey, let's talk about that practice. Now, at that practice, you witnessed Mia fall and hit her head hard, didn't you?
Yes, again, which is why I immediately pulled her from that practice.
That's right, you ran over to Mia, didn't you?
Yes, as any concerned coach would.
And let's talk about what you saw when you got to her. Now, Mia was slow to get up, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
She complained that she was dizzy, isn't that right?
Yes.
She was holding her head, wasn't she?
Yes, and again, from my lesson in the National D license, I knew that these were some symptoms could have been minor symptoms of a concussion. And so I pulled her from that practice immediately.
Okay, so you knew that these could be symptoms of a concussion.
Yes, they could be very minor symptoms of a concussion, yes.
And on top of those symptoms, Mia even expressed confusion as to where she was, Mr. Dempsey, right?
Yes, which again is why I immediately pulled her from that practice, and I continued to check on her and ask her if she was okay. But after practice ended, she just left before I could do any further, before I could ask her any further questions.
All right, let's talk about what you did after you took Mia out of practice. Now, you made her go sit on the sidelines, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Before practice ended, Mia had already gone home. Isn't that right?
Yes, she just rushed off and ran home, and she was able to get home and drive home safely by herself. So I assumed that whatever the dizziness had happened, it had gone away.
You just assumed that? You never checked up with her?
Yes, as she was able to drive home perfectly safe and healthy, and she never expressed anything to me after that.
Well, you actually intended to make a phone call to Mia's mother that night, didn't you?
Yes, I did intend to make a phone call, but again, as Mia was able to drive home safely and the night got a little hectic, I knew she was okay because she never expressed any more concern. If she just would have expressed concern, I could have been so much more helpful as her coach.
And you didn't see any concern after Mia suffered a head injury to where that left her confused as to where she was?
Right.
Objection, Your Honor, to asked and answered. Mr. Parker Noblet has already questioned Coach Dempsey's concern as to when Mia hit her head, and Coach Dempsey has given him a very clear answer to the fact that he was concerned and pulled her out of the game.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
This line of questioning, I'm going to explore whether he was concerned enough to make a phone call to Mia's mother to give her notice as to whether or not her daughter needed medical attention. While we've confirmed that Mia was indeed confused as to where she was, I'm simply going on to see how concerned he was, and then to show how he wasn't concerned and that he never made the one phone call he had the duty to make.
If I may respond, Your Honor.
You may.
We established that Mia didn't know where she was, so therefore this question has been asked and answered.
You may proceed at this time. Just continue to keep it moving forward. So objection overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you weren't concerned enough to make a phone call, despite Mia being confused as to where she was. Isn't that right?
Well, as coach protocol, the only time we make a direct phone call to a parent out of practice is when dire medical attention is needed, as if a broken bone or something. Just a little confusion. I assumed that she would express to me further if it was anything worse than that.
So this potential concussion didn't seem enough to constitute a phone call to you?
She went to the sideline and she never expressed that she was feeling any worse, and she was able to drive home perfectly fine. So she told me that she was okay.
So you never made that one phone call, did you?
No, because the
Objection, Your Honor, to asked and answered. It has been very clear that Coach Dempsey has not made this phone call.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
I only asked about him making the phone call the Monday after practice. I'm establishing that he never made that one phone call at all.
I would say ask that question. It's not exactly the question that you asked.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Dempsey, you never, oh, sorry. Mr. Dempsey, you never made that one phone call at all, did you?
Mia never expressed any more concern, and she told me that she was feeling okay. So I never felt the need to make that phone call.
Well, you say that Mia told you that she was okay, but you actually never got in contact with Mia either, did you?
Well, Mia never expressed any concern to me, so I assumed that she was okay.
All right, now let's move on to the showcase game. Now, at that game, Mia seemed different than usual, didn't she?
Yeah, she seemed a little off at that game, but I just assumed it was from nerves from many college coaches being there.
Now, on direct examination, you said that Mia seemed totally, completely normal, but she actually looked more tired than usual, didn't she?
As the game went on, she began to look more and more like the Mia we loved. But at the very beginning, she did seem a little maybe tired. So that is why I initially pulled her and told her to get some rest. And she said no, that she wanted to continue to play.
So things weren't actually totally, completely normal, were they?
She began playing totally and completely normal.
Objection, Your Honor, to speculation. Mr. Parker Noblet is asking Coach Dempsey to go inside Mia's head to say if everything was completely and totally normal. And that is what this case is about. The fact that on her outward appearance, Mia seemed completely and totally normal, but it was the inward concussion symptoms that she hid from him. And therefore, this is speculation.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm not asking Coach Dempsey to enter Mia's mindset. He testified that he saw that Mia was more tired than usual and not playing to the best of her capabilities. This indicates that this was in fact not totally and completely normal. This is an outward symptom he saw and therefore is not speculation.
I believe the question was more of a transition to move into the next area of questioning. So I will go on and allow, and the coach can speak to his own observations.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Now I'll move on. Now at this point, nearing halftime, Mia got jostled by a defender, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
And you were informed by a fellow player that Mia had been elbowed in the head. Isn't that right?
Yes, this other player, it was Mia's best friend, Megan. They were always so kind to each other and always watched out for each other. We even nicknamed them on the team Frickin' Frack. They were always together. But she did express concern, which is why I went to Mia during halftime.
So she did express concern that Mia was elbowed in the head?
She did come up to me and express concern, which is why I went to Mia directly. But Mia told me that she was okay and she was ready to play again.
Is it your testimony today that you went to Mia and asked her if she was okay after being informed that she was elbowed in the head?
Mia talked to me at halftime and told me that she was okay and promised me she was going to score.
But you actually learned that Mia had been elbowed in the head after that conversation, right?
Yes, but she still told me that she was okay.
Okay, so you never checked up on Mia about this potential hit to the head, did you?
She told me that she was feeling okay. I cannot express that enough, that she never told me that she was feeling bad.
So you never made that one substitution, did you?
No, and I had tried at the beginning of the game, and she demanded to be put back in the game and continue to show off her skills to the coaches.
And the next time Mia was hit in the head, she didn't get up, did she?
Sadly, she never did. That had to be the scariest moment of my life. As a coach, you never want to see your player look like that.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Briefly, Your Honor. Coach, did you personally view Mia getting hit in the head by an elbow?
Personally, from the sideline, it just looked like a bump. The elbow to the head was only informed to me by Megan.
Also, Mr. Parker Noblett expressed a lot of concern about this waiver, but I want to hear from you. What would you consider the catastrophic decision? Not reading the waiver or Mia hiding her concussion symptoms from you?
Objection, Your Honor. Ultimate issue. May I explain?
You may.
Coach Shannon, opposing counsel just asked Coach Shannon Dempsey to answer the very matter that is at issue in today's case. His belief on whether or not which one is more substantial, 50-50 in today's case, is completely irrelevant and only being used to go to the ultimate issue, which is inadmissible.
If I may respond, Your Honor.
You may.
Under Rule 704A, it states that an opinion is not objectionable just because it embraces the ultimate issue. And furthermore, Coach Dempsey is here to describe what he witnessed and how he feels that this interactions with Mia went, and therefore it is completely fair of him to express his views on this.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
700 series refers to expert witnesses. Mr. Dempsey is not an expert witness, therefore this does not apply.
Your Honor, if I may respond.
Final response.
Rule 704 simply states that the opinion is not objectionable just because it embraces the ultimate issue, and that is the root of the rule number in this objection.
The court will sustain the objection at this time. Believe that the Rule 700 series does apply to expert witnesses, plus Mr. Dempsey being one of the defendants in the case, it's fairly obvious where his opinion on that question would lie. So therefore, the court would say this is a matter for the jury and would sustain the objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Coach Dempsey, did you not reading this medical waiver affect the care that you gave to Mia?
Of course not. Me knowing that Mia had a prior concussion doesn't change the fact that I noticed some symptoms at the practice. I pulled her from that practice and I continued to see if she was okay, and she continued to tell me that she was, even when she wasn't. All she needed to do was say one word: help.
Thank you, Coach Dempsey, and thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Is there any recross?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach Dempsey. And does the defense wish to call their next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Jordan Reddick to the stand.
And Director Reddick, if you will raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will adhere to the rules of this mock trial competition?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. May I proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you state your name for the record?
My name is Jordan Reddick.
And how are you currently employed?
I am the director of Rubicon Soccer Club.
Can you tell the jury how you became the director of Rubicon?
Yeah, before I came to Rubicon, I spent about 14 years in player development at Triad, which is another soccer club here in Midlands. And before that, I actually spent a few years playing pro soccer.
What's the difference between being on a club soccer team and a high school soccer team?
It's the level of talent. High schools are usually limited to the kids that are in that school or in that district. Club teams don't have the same restrictions. We get to pick from any kid that we want in the state, and once we have those kids, we take them and we prepare them for the next level.
Was Mia Donovan one of your players?
Yes, she was.
We're here today because Mia sustained a concussion during the college showcase match. The week of the showcase match, did Mia ever tell you that she was suffering from concussion symptoms?
No, she did not.
How many times did you see Mia Donovan that week?
I hardly saw her at all.
In fact, I wasn't even actually present to see her first or secondary head injury that week. I was only present during the second half of the showcase match. Actually, based on what I've heard specifically here in court, I'd say that out of everyone here, I saw Mia the least and Miss Donovan saw Mia the most.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm not even Mia's coach. I don't get to see her in practices and I don't get to see her in most games. Miss Donovan lives with Mia. By that fact alone, she's going to get to see Mia more than I ever will.
The plaintiff is suggesting that the Rubicon Soccer Club doesn't do enough for player safety. Can you tell us how the Rubicon Soccer Club focuses on injury prevention?
Yeah, we actually have a partnership with Julian College where all of our players get to be involved in their injury prevention research projects, because it is extremely important to us that all of our kids are well informed about the injuries that they might see and how to prevent those injuries. Honestly, out of everyone in the state, no one's more focused on injury prevention.
The last
Objection on speculation.
If you can expand on that.
Yes, Your Honor. The witness just stated that the Rubicon Sports Club, out of all club soccer teams in the state, is the most focused on injury prevention, and there's no way for Jordan Reddick to have this knowledge.
Your Honor, if I may.
You may.
Director Reddick works in tandem with these other clubs, so they're aware of the way that they also focus on injury prevention, so they are more than capable to make this assertion.
Any additional response?
Yes, Your Honor. Again, the witness would not have this knowledge. Jordan Reddick is only the director of the Rubicon Soccer Club, not of every other soccer club in the state, and would therefore lack this knowledge.
The court will sustain the objection, but you may explore the issue further to see what her knowledge is. So objection sustained at this time.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. The last witness the plaintiff called was a concussion awareness advocate. Do you encounter concussion awareness advocates in your career?
We do. More often now than it has been in the past.
And why is that?
I'm sorry, Ms. Hawley, you lagged out. Can you please repeat your question?
Why is it that you see concussion awareness advocates more often than not?
Because when the public calls for a concussion awareness advocate, that means that they don't know everything that they need to know.
As a director of a soccer club, what's it like to deal with medical issues when there's a gap in the knowledge?
Well, it is always a little bit difficult, but we do what we always do, the best that we possibly can with the information that we have at that time. A relevant example, specifically for the jury to make the connection for the case, would probably be the pandemic, actually. If you remember back in March, the CDC recommendation was that not everybody needed to wear a mask. Of course, now that sounds completely foreign to us, but at the time, that's what was perceived to be the best course of action. Concussion awareness is just like that. We're learning as the science changes, and what is perceived to be the best course of action is constantly changing.
Can you give us an example of how your understanding of concussions has changed over the past few years?
Yeah, back when I played pro soccer, basically everyone I knew, myself included, ended up with a concussion at least once. Now, yeah, we had a team of doctors looking out for us, but we all stayed in, we kept playing the game, because none of us ever really perceived it to be that big of a deal, because it wasn't perceived to be that big of a deal commonly. Now, I'm not saying that we were any tougher than these kids. All I'm saying is that the science was different, our understanding was different.
The plaintiff has criticized the Rubicon Soccer Club for its concussion safety protocols. Let me ask you, Director, how many concussions were there that season on Mia's team?
Mia was the only one.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions at this time.
Thank you. Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
As the director of the Rubicon Soccer Club, it is your responsibility to develop policies and procedures that ensure the safety of your players, correct?
Yes, it is partially my responsibility. We sit on a board of directors overall.
And you are familiar with the United States Youth Soccer Association?
I I am, yes.
You are aware that this organization posted concussion policy, procedure, and notification forms in August of 2019, correct?
I am, yes.
And on direct examination, you claimed that the information on concussions is ever evolving and changing. Yet, these forms were available far before Mia's injury, correct?
That is correct, but science is still constantly changing. Even if the forms were published right in the middle of our season, the awareness of how concussions work and what is perceived to be the best is a currently evolving issue.
You would recognize a copy of those forms if I were to show them to you today, correct?
Most likely, yes.
Your Honor, please let the record reflect a member of the plaintiff will be screen sharing Exhibit 12.
So noted.
You recognize this form to be the United States Youth Soccer Association Concussion Procedure and Protocol Notification Form, correct?
Yes.
And it does not appear to be changed or altered in any way.
From what I could tell, no, it hasn't.
Your Honor, at this time, the plaintiff moves Exhibit 12 into evidence.
Is there any objection to its introduction?
Yes, Your Honor. I object to the entry of this document to analyze any of Mia's head injuries on the grounds of lack of personal knowledge. Rule 602 states that witnesses may not testify to a matter unless the witness has personal knowledge. Director Reddick has already testified that they did not witness any of Mia's head injuries except for the final one in the showcase match. This form is used to run a potential head injury through a protocol. This simply wouldn't apply to this witness because Director Reddick didn't witness the previous head injuries. Therefore, because of this witness does not have the required knowledge to testify to this document.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
We will be utilizing this document to refer to Jordan Reddick's prior testimony today and other testimony heard in court today to analyze Mia's symptoms based off of that testimony.
I think it can be used. Obviously, the director can only testify as to what they are aware of, but it can be used to question the director as to their knowledge and as to what use, if any, that they put the form or the information to. So you may proceed.
Yes,
Your Honor. Now, the United States Youth Soccer Association set out step-by-step procedures on what to do if a player sustained a concussion, correct?
Correct.
Now, under step 1 of this procedure, the soccer club is responsible for evaluating a player's possible symptoms of a concussion, correct?
Correct.
And you were in court today for the testimony of Shannon Dempsey.
I was, yes.
You are aware that Mia was slow to get up.
Yes, I am aware of that.
You are aware that Mia appeared confused about what had happened.
I was aware of that based on the testimony.
And you are aware that Mia had appeared dizzy.
Yes.
Based off of this policy and procedure form, it is fair to assume that Mia could have sustained a concussion, correct?
That's a fair assumption to make, but having a slower reaction time, dizziness, and confusion can also be symptoms of about 1,000 other things, Ms. Richards.
But yes, it is a fair assumption.
I said yes, it would be.
Now, according to step 6, subsection 3 of this form, if there is a possibility that a player has sustained a concussion, the team has a responsibility to reach out to that player's parent or legal guardian, correct?
That is correct.
I would like to talk to you about that one phone call. Soccer coach Shannon Dempsey never called Casey Donovan, did he?
To my knowledge, no.
And you, the director of the Rubicon Soccer Club, never called Casey Donovan, did you?
Ms. Richards, I cannot call on what I did not see or have any knowledge of. If Mia had said anything to me, to Dempsey, to literally anybody else, we would have been aware of this. However, Mia hid it from us all and nobody knew about it except for her and Mr. Durant.
You claim that Mia was hiding the symptoms. However, we just lined out in this cross-examination that you are aware that some of Mia's symptoms did line up with concussion symptoms, correct?
That is correct, and I also stated that those symptoms could possibly be the symptoms of about 100 other things.
And finally, I would like to talk to you about one substitution. Under step 5 of this form, if a player is believed to have sustained a concussion, the team must require that that student go see a physician, correct?
That is correct, yes.
No member of the Rubicon Sports Club, to your knowledge, reached out to Casey Donovan informing her that her daughter needed medical assistance, correct?
That is correct. And Ms. Richards, I would also like to point out, if the member of the team could please pull back up Exhibit 12.
A member of the plaintiff will again be screen sharing Exhibit 12.
Thank you.
If you look under step 6.2, if the player is able to do so, have the player sign and date the form. That is sorely lacking because you are asking a child, a minor, to sign a form. That in itself is illegal, and you're talking about a possibly concussed child. You're having them sign a form that there's a very high likelihood they're not aware of what's in the form anyway. If the player is not able to sign, of course, it says note the player's signature line unavailable.
Objection, Your Honor. The witness has become narrative.
What was the question that you asked?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, you cut out. Could you please
Sorry,
repeat?
what was the question that you asked?
Yes, Your Honor. Whether or not Director Reddick called Casey Donovan or had her recommend her daughter to a physician.
So the objection is sustained, but the defense counsel may ask Director Reddick for further explanation upon upon redirect.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor. Now, Director Reddick, you claim that Casey Donovan or Mia Donovan should have signed this form. However, you never provided Casey Donovan with the form for her to sign, did you?
I didn't provide her with this form. I did provide her with the forms when they signed Mia up.
Yet you never provided her with a notification form after her daughter sustained a head injury.
No, because traditionally we don't use this form unless it is printed off and handed directly to us. We use a separate form that was not provided in today's case.
And finally, Director Reddick, you would agree with me that Mia should have never been playing in the showcase tournament, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat I got the first half, I didn't get the last half, Ms. Richards.
In fact, Mia should have never been playing in the showcase tournament game at all, should she?
That's an extrapolation that I cannot necessarily make.
So as the director of the Rubicon Sports
Your
Club.
Honor, opposing counsel is out of time.
So noted. And so that concludes the cross-examination. Is the redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Director Reddick, I want to ask you about the protocol sheet again. Let the record reflect that I'm screen sharing what has been previously entered as Exhibit 12.
So noted.
Director Reddick, I want to redirect your attention to Step 5. Will you read what Step 5 says?
Step 5 says a player diagnosed with a possible concussion may return to U.S. youth soccer play only after release from a licensed medical doctor specializing in concussion treatment and management.
You were present in the courtroom today. Did Mia Donovan ever get released by a medical professional to play soccer?
From what I've heard in court today, no, she did not.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions at this time.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Reddick. I believe that concludes the case for the defense. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense rests its case in chief.
So at this time, before we proceed with closing arguments, there will be another 5-minute recess. So we will join you all once that 5 minutes is concluded. Thank you. Welcome back. And if Mr. Mattingly or the bailiff can confirm that we have our scoring judges all present.
If the jurors could announce in the chat that they are back. All right, we have Judge McCrannell, Judge Payne, Judge Colson, Judge Harris, Judge Blankman, Judge Hughes, Judge Miles, Judge Bowling, Judge Hendricks. I am sure Judge Caslin is still there.
Judge Caslin, can you give us a word just to confirm that you're with us?
I'm on.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. I believe that is everyone, Judge.
Thank you. At this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, both sides have rested and we will now hear closing arguments. Everyone should please switch back to speaker view and presume the plaintiff is ready to proceed with closing argument.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may do so.
Your Honor, opposing counsel, members of the jury, may it please the court. One form, one phone call, or one substitution. Today, the defense came before you and pointed fingers. They tried to blame everyone but themselves for causing Mia's traumatic brain injury. But I ask that you focus on these three simple actions. One form, one phone call, or one substitution. If Rubicon Soccer had handled just one of these three simple actions properly, we would not be in court today. Now, as my co-counsel explained at the beginning of today's trial, we had to prove three elements of negligence to you today. First, that Rubicon owed a duty of care to Mia, that they breached that duty. And that breach of duty was the direct and proximate cause of Mia's injuries. We had to prove this to you by a preponderance of the evidence, meaning 50% plus a feather. We have met that burden today. Now let's go through the evidence that brings us to that conclusion. First, you heard from Ms. Casey Donovan, who explained that this wasn't the first time her daughter had suffered a concussion. As was her duty as a parent, she disclosed this information to Rubicon Soccer on the one form they gave her, trusting that they would review this information to keep her daughter safe. Members of the jury, as you heard today, no one at Rubicon Soccer ever bothered to look at this form. And as a result, they didn't take the necessary precautions they needed to take to keep Mia safe. If they had simply looked at this one form, Mia would never have been injured. But as you heard today, this wasn't the only time Rubicon breached their duty of care. In fact, Shannon Dempsey admitted to you on cross-examination that he witnessed Mia hit her head hard on a practice a few days before the showcase tournament. He ran over to her and found that she was slow to get up, dizzy, and confused as to where she was. He even admitted to you that he believed these were symptoms of a possible concussion. Yet, he chose to do nothing. He failed to make the one phone call he needed to make to keep Mia safe. By failing to make this one phone call, Mia never got the medical attention she needed. And because of that, she will never play soccer again. The defense has tried to argue that Mia should have been more transparent with her symptoms, despite Shannon Dempsey readily admitting to seeing them. But as Dr. Register explained to you, it is the duty of the parents in this situation, the parents and coaches in this situation, to identify concussion symptoms and take action. But by failing to make that one phone call to Mia's mother, Shannon Dempsey failed to uphold his duty of care. Now, finally, the defense has tried to explain that concussions are a new idea in the soccer community. But as Tobin O'Reilly showed you today, this could not be further from the truth. There are countless resources made available to coaches that all point to one action coaches need to take when they suspect a potential concussion. You made one substitution. But Jordan Reddick failed to provide these resources to their coaches. And as a result, Shannon Dempsey didn't make the one substitution he had the duty to make. Members of the jury, one form, one phone call, or one substitution. 3 simple actions Rubicon had the duty to take, but failed to do so. And that's why we ask that you find Rubicon liable for negligence. Thank you.
Is the defense prepared to give their closing?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
May it please the court, opposing counsel, members of the jury. Imagine that you suddenly realize that you have COVID-19. You have a fever, a pretty bad headache. You have a little trouble breathing. You're pretty sure that it's the coronavirus, but you don't tell anyone. You keep it a secret. In fact, you're able to fool your own family. To hide it, you say it's just asthma, I'm fine. And then you go out into the public. I think we can all agree that this secret would be a very bad idea. Apply that same thinking here. Mia's secret was a very bad idea. But instead of endangering others, she put herself at risk. What she's going through now is tragic, and our hearts go out to her. But Mia knew that she had a concussion. She understood the dangers to her health. And when she hid it from everyone, she got hurt. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why we are here today. You heard from 6 witnesses in this trial. Mia lied to all 6 of them in some way. Think about this for a second. The first 2 witnesses who testified today were Mia's mother and Mia's high school soccer coach. They were in the best position to realize that Mia had a concussion this time. They had seen her get concussions in the past. They know how she acts when she gets one. But did they realize it this time? No. And why is that? Because Mia lied to them. You know, there's something that's just not right when the 2 people who know Mia best take the stand and criticize everyone else for not realizing that Mia had a concussion when she didn't realize it either. The plaintiff's other witness was the concussion expert, who by the end of her testimony became a witness for the defense. Professor Register openly admitted that Mia made a mistake in not telling anyone. Then we heard from Mia's best friend, Chris Durant, the only person she told about her concussion. Mia made Chris promise not to tell anyone. He regrets keeping her secret. Next was defendant Shannon Dempsey, Mia's coach for the Rubicon Soccer Club. This was his first season coaching her, so he didn't know her all that well. Mia told him to his face that she was fine. He didn't know anything was wrong. And Jordan Reddick, our last witness, is the director of Rubicon. They told you how injury prevention is a priority at Rubicon. There's a reason that Mia's team had 0 concussions that season. The Rubicon Soccer Club was safe. Ladies and gentlemen, contrary to the plaintiff's beliefs, all it took was 1 return visit to the doctor, 1 phone call from Mia Donovan, and most importantly, all it would take to keep Mia Donovan safe was 1 word: help. The burden of proof is on the plaintiff to prove to you that the Rubicon Soccer Club is responsible for Mia's injuries. They must show that the Rubicon Soccer Club bears the majority of the responsibility here. It's impossible for them to prove that because of this simple fact. Both sides were lied to by Mia Donovan, and they were left in the dark by her refusal to tell anyone that she was hurt. It's not fair to punish the Rubicon Soccer Club for Mia's mistake. The Rubicon Soccer Club acted reasonably when they relied on Mia's statements to them when she said, "It's just stress, I'm fine." As we told you at the beginning of this trial, we judge people's decisions based on the information that they had at the time. Because Mia kept her concussion a secret from everyone, we ask that you assign the fault in this case against Mia Donovan and find in favor of the Rubicon Soccer Club. Thank you.
Thank you. Did the plaintiff have a rebuttal that they wish to make?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
May it please the court. The defense just came before you and pleaded ignorance. But as the evidence shows today, that could not be further from the truth. There are countless CDC resources made available to coaches that show what they need to do if a player may have sustained a concussion. Shannon Dempsey admitted to you today that Mia's symptoms upon hitting her head made him believe she sustained a concussion, but he chose to do nothing. By failing to make that one phone call and by failing to make that one substitution, they failed to meet their duty of care. And that's why we ask that you find Rubicon Soccer liable for negligence. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. And at this time, the case is being turned over to the members of the jury. Members of the jury, if you will please complete and submit your ballots. And all competitors, please turn your video on and ensure that your Zoom names are correct so that we can complete the ballots. And then when all the ballots have been submitted and tabulated, the bailiff will let me know and I will present the verdict. So, and again, Mr. Mattingly, if you are there, do the jurors remain here in this room or do they go to another room to tabulate?
The jurors can remain here so they can see who the students are for the rankings.
Okay. So while they're doing that, Mr. Mattingly instructed me to introduce myself to you all. So I'm Judge Lisa Jones. I'm a circuit judge here in Davis County, Kentucky. I took the bench as a district court judge originally in 2001, and I just took the circuit court bench in November of 2019. My claim to fame is that Mr. Mattingly, who's been our bailiff here and has been very instrumental in coordinating this competition, I was his mock trial coach back when he was in high school. So I have coached mock trial before I became a judge. And then as a judge, I have worked with the Administrative Office of the Courts in judging the mock trial competitions previously, and even got the privilege of accompanying the state champion to the championship rounds one year in Dallas. So it's a really exciting opportunity. So I look forward to one of you all having that chance. And I just want to commend everyone today on how well that you've done. For all my experience with mock trial, both sides here, this is the best performance that I have ever seen. So you all did an amazing job. Very professional, very smooth, better than a lot of trials that I see in court. So you all did very, very good and should be very proud of yourselves.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I appreciate everybody's grasp of technology too. Obviously, you all are doing things that we are still in the process of learning to do. I still haven't quite grasped the concept of sharing documents yet online. So very impressed that you all have adapted. And technologically, this is the most seamless. It's not uncommon for our court appearances to disconnect or have people with bad computer feeds or a lot of technical difficulties that definitely slow down the process. And so for you all and for the technological team who coordinated this has also been about the most flawless technological hearing that I have had since we've had to go to virtual and to Zoom. I hate it for you all that you kind of miss the experience of getting to bond with the other teams and kind of to get that time that everybody's kind of missed a lot of the camaraderie that comes with a lot of the competitions. But the fact that you all were able to compete and the fact that they were able to put this together for us over the internet has really been an amazing accomplishment. So I was really glad that though you missed out on part of the joys of competing and coming to this level, that you all were still able to do this. And Will, you let me know when I need to stop talking.
Understand there might have been some issues with some people's ballots. The jurors, please note in chat whenever they have submitted their ballot. Looks like all ballots are in and we will be tabulating. And I believe that that our president has some things to address. So I'll turn it over to her.
Hey guys, congratulations. This was an incredible round. It really was. I knew going into today that this was going to be some real tough competition. And thankfully I've been around long enough now that I've actually been able to see both teams grow, because both teams coaches help us a lot and one's a board member. So yeah, it was a great honor to watch you guys. It was really cool. So good job. I just wanted to make a very quick announcement or cover some quick non-fun stuff. So we're going to tab real quick. We will have a top attorney and witness for this round, and whichever team gets to move on, I will be in touch with your coach within the week to give details about nationals. This year's nationals is virtual. Evansville, Indiana is hosting it again. But it'll still be really cool. They've been working really hard to make sure it's a good event for you guys this year. So with that being said, if Judge Jones, if you would like to give any comments, or I think we can now, all the ballots are in, you can share what teams you guys are and things like that. And we'll come back when we have an announcement with winners.
Okay. So plaintiff goes first all the way through the trial. So for introductions, to tell us where you all are from, since all the ballots have been turned in, the defense gets to go first now. Where are you all from?
Montgomery County.
Okay. And plaintiffs, where are y'all from?
Model Laboratory School.
Okay. So juniors, seniors, sophomores, what's your all's breakdown? For who all seniors?
I'm a senior.
I'm a senior.
Have you all competed in this before?
Yeah.
Yeah, all 4 years.
Yep.
Okay. Wonderful. And I had the privilege, I guess, like Taylor was saying, of having the opportunity to see you all grow, is to, I think during the scrimmage, I presided over the round with Montgomery County. And again, y'all did a lot of different things now than you did during the scrimmage. So as she was saying, it's really heartening when you see teams take that information and run with it. So she was saying that plaintiffs have done that as well. So really good job to both of you all to apply what you all have learned and the comments that you've received, and to grow from there. So good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciated all of your feedback from the scrimmage.
Yes.
Thank you all
so much.
Thank you so much.
Any questions or anything that y'all want to ask? I think we've got our jurors present too with us, don't we? Or are you all, I think they're all tabulating, so you all are free. Do the jurors want to introduce themselves?
I'll come on. Hi, everyone. I am Judge Lindsay Hughes Thurston. I am a judge in the Fayette County District Court, and it was truly an honor and a pleasure to watch you guys today. As Judge Jones says, you all, a lot of you are just as talented as the attorneys that I see in my courtroom every day. And your witness preparations, your presentations of your cases, your openings, your closings, your objections, it was very skilled, and I'm very proud of all of you guys. And congrats. I know you all have worked really hard and had obviously to deal with this crazy Zoom life that we're all engaging in. So kudos, great job. Keep up the good work, and you all have very bright futures.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, my name's Joe Caslin, and I'm a retired judge who gets moved around different parts of the state to substitute for other judges. And Judge Lisa Jones took my place and is showing me up, by the way. And she had, I just noticed this during the break. Well, I noticed this when we took the last break. I hadn't seen the newspaper until took the break, and you're spread all over the front page, the top fold.
I've heard. I haven't seen it, but I've heard.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. You know, I was the only one who got that kind of coverage. It looks great. Well, in any event, I just want to tell you guys that you did a marvelous job, and it was extremely, extremely difficult scoring because I can't give everybody a 10, you know, and so it's tough. It's very tough. It's just a good thing to see. This is the first year I've participated, and I think, I don't know, come to think of maybe I did many years ago. I can't recall, but it's just a good thing to see very highly intelligent young people doing this work. So God bless you. And I would not have a clue which one of you two teams made it, but I want to, whomsoever did, I want to wish you the best of success at the next level. So thank you so much. And I'll get out of here and let somebody else come on.
Any other jurors want to join us and introduce themselves?
Judge, I will. My name is Jennifer Hendricks. I am a solo practitioner attorney in Owensboro, Kentucky. I go before Judge Jones at various times in legal practice. I've also went in front of Judge Caslin as well. Not to beat a dead horse, but I again want to say how proud I am of all of you for doing this, for taking the time from your studies in school to do this kind of as an extracurricular activity. I know it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of time and effort. I hope that the butterflies that you have in your stomach right now continue, because even if you go on to become an attorney, you will still have those butterflies in your stomach every time you go in front of the court. And I think that makes you a good attorney. What was funny watching this, I'm proud of some of the objections that was happening here. It was really funny. Some of them I'm like, man, maybe I should use those in one of my trials. You know, and sometimes you object just to kind of break the flow of testimony, and all of you, and even I know it's a little different being witnesses as well, but all of you did very good with that. I do acting kind of as an extracurricular activity, and I think a lot of attorneys find ourselves in that position too, as another outlet for acting. And so it was really good to see all of you kind of embrace your characters, not break character, and just your attitude toward that. And I applaud all of you for doing that today. And this was very hard to judge. And as Judge Caslin stated, I wish all of you the best of luck in the future, and whoever does win this at the next round.
Thanks, Jennifer. Anybody else? Y'all are all being bashful. Any questions that any of the lawyers or witnesses have about about anything, either for me or for any of the jurors who want to answer? Questions about court or about the judicial process, or any of you all interested in being lawyers, or is this for acting experience too? I know, especially for improv, it's really good. And it looks like a couple. And those of you who don't want to be lawyers, what inspired you to do this? What to join on board?
Well, I just want to say for a lot of the Montgomery County kids, it's interesting that the lady who last spoke to us said she did acting, and almost all of our team does the theater in our school also. So we all kind of come from that background, which makes this extremely fun to do. So that.
I can say that personally, my reason for joining mock trial was Shayna Garrett. She had tried to make me join it in middle school, and my schedule was busy, so I said no, but she took it upon herself to make sure that I joined in freshman year, and I really enjoyed myself, and I've been coming back ever since.
I just remember hearing from all the upperclassmen when I was in 8th grade and a freshman about how good the mock trial team was. So I was like, well, I guess I'll check this thing out and see how I do. And so I haven't left since. So
To follow what Caleb said, basically, one of the seniors was a really good friend of mine my freshman year, and was like, and always talked about it. And I was like, can I come sit in on a practice? Is that a thing I can do? And so they let me come in and sit, and I never left. Our coach just kind of was like, hey, do you want to do this role? And I said, okay, sure. And here we are.
I know that for me personally, it's kind of funny. My freshman year, my parents made me do mock trial. They were like, you need to do it. You love to argue with people. You need to do mock trial. So we do a little bio form for new people when they do tryouts. And me and another girl that's on our team, we both wrote on our forms when they asked why you're doing mock trial. We were both like, my parents made me. But it's my favorite thing ever. It's my favorite extracurricular. It's easily the most rewarding. But yeah, haven't left since either. So
as a parent, it's good to hear I can twist my son's arm, make him do this. He'll thank me for it later. Anybody from Plaintiff's team? What inspired y'all to start doing this?
I like the law. I've always been really fascinated by it, and our team actually folded the year before our seniors got into high school. Our group refounded the team, and we've just been going ever since. It's been really fun.
Wonderful. As you can see, we didn't have a Davis County or an Owensboro team participate in this. So it's something that I know Mr. Mattingly's been trying really hard to generate interest in locally. So if you all could talk to other high school students and tell them what is the best thing about this, or what would you tell them to get them involved?
Honestly, if I talk to any of the high schoolers, it's fun. Especially you get to bond as a team and you make so many friends. Like my freshman year, I was a timekeeper. Like I didn't even do this witness role. And I still bonded so much with like Addie and Alex and Caleb. We all grew together as a team. And even though I may have not done much to help them win help them get where they were that year, I still felt like I did something, and they made sure that I was included. It's a family. You find a family here. So that's what I would tell them.
And Bryce, that is so not true, because another thing that you could say, it's just such a great support system. And Bryce is a great support system, and so is the rest of the team. And I think that's such a special thing, because it's easy to put all the pressure on yourself and be like, oh my gosh, I have to do this just perfectly. But you have all these team members who really just come around you and show you so much love and support you. And it's a beautiful community to be a part of.
Let me interject. Where are the plaintiffs from? I heard my audio wasn't working too well. What school are you all from?
Model Laboratory School. We're in Richmond.
Model Laboratory?
Yeah, we're on the EKU campus.
Oh, you're part of Eastern Kentucky University?
Yeah, we're their lab school.
Mm-hmm. Oh, guinea pigs, huh? Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's interesting.
I think Juror Reese, Judge Reese, you just contributed something in the chat room and I could just see a part of it. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, sure. So hi, I'm a senior at Miami University. We are the national champions 2 years running, and I wanted to let you know that all of you did a wonderful job today. And if any of you are interested in college mock trial, I put my email in the chat. Feel free to reach out with me with any questions or anything like that. Great job today.
And I saw another juror contributed something too about their experience.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. If any of you end up going to the University of Cincinnati and would like to be a part of our team, just shoot me an email. I left my email as well. So just depending on which college you end up going to, whether you go to Miami or UC, both are amazing programs. So.
I don't think some other jurors are contributing to the chat there. If y'all can, hopefully y'all can see that what they're saying. So everybody was really impressed with y'all's performance today.
Hi all, are you ready? Okay, so yeah, I mean, you don't know. So before I begin, I'm going to announce the best attorney and best witness for this round. You will be getting a plaque in the mail. It just might take a little bit longer. And when I am done with these announcements, I'll throw it back over to our bailiff who will announce the winner. And then, like I said, I'll be in touch with your coaches, but after this is announced, we'll close out the room pretty quickly. So just thank you all, especially judges. Thank you so much for joining us today. As you know, we can't do this without you, but I know a lot of you gave up a lot of your weekend to do this. And even if you didn't, I know that Will was pulling in a lot of Western Kentucky, and we're just so happy to have you guys here. So with all of this being said, let's get to the important part. So for our best witness of the round, our defense portraying Chris Durant was Bryce Charles. Congratulations, Bryce. Now for our plaintiff, or for our top attorney, it is on our plaintiff side, giving the closing argument, Everett Parker Noblet. Congratulations, Everett. All right, and with that being said, I'm going to throw it over to our plaintiff to announce the verdict.
The bailiff.
Oh, bailiff. Sorry.
Just making sure. Check your phone. Am I correct?
One moment. Official tab business. Yes, you're correct.
All right. I will deliver the verdict to the judge, who will then read it.
How are you delivering it to me? Oh, like actually in person. Then, ladies and gentlemen, the court has been presented with the verdict that the bailiff has handed to me. And the verdict of the jury is that the plaintiffs have won the case. So congratulations, everyone, so much for your all's hard work, for your dedication, for your performance and your time here today. And great job, everybody. You all have all done fantastic. Congratulations.
Congratulations, plaintiff. And I forgot to announce this before, but it came down, it was a tied ballot situation. So after the tie ballot, since we do not count competition strength in the championship round, we go off point differentials. So it was an 11-point spread. Very close, great round. Congratulations, everybody. And congratulations, Model Lab, on your 2021 state championship victory.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Lynette,